things we're going to talk about. It.
Booty.
Surrender.
Surrender the booty.
It's my pirate flag.
Love it. Where'd you get that from?
I ordered it online, so I've had a running joke me and my law partners have had about our lawsuits against the government and how, it's largely we're like a little pirate ship. So now that we're getting close to a win, probably something this week, I went and bought these flags for all of us, and so I shipped them to my boys, and I got one. So,
hey, Dale, what's going to happen this week?
Probably we'll get a decision from a judge, either one or maybe two. We've got two different judges we're in front of. We got three cases. One judge has two of them, and then we get another judge who's got one case. And that one case, he said he'd have a decision in 30 days. And that was 30 days from December 19th, which would put it at January 19th. And that just passed yesterday. So we're very likely to get a decision this week.
Dale, are all three cases around the idea that members of the military were forced to take the vaccine and that was not cool?
It is on a single fact that I have knowledge of, cognizance of, that most of the rest of the country does not know and won't acknowledge, which is that there were no licensed vaccines when the vaccine mandate was announced. I don't know if you remember this, but there was a big hoopla, and the FDA was like, "We got a licensed vaccine. We licensed the vaccine called Comirnaty or Comirnaty. Nobody really knows how to pronounce it, but it's COMIRNATY is the trade name of this licensed vaccine. But what most people didn't know is that was a psyop. That vaccine was licensed, and then the same day it was licensed, it was removed from the market. Never before happened in the history of the FDA. So they licensed a vaccine and said a license. There it is. That was licensed. Yeah, see, FDA was approved in August of 2021. It was the first vaccine to receive approval. And the issue was what the DOD did and what the FDA did. They licensed it, and your license, when you're granted a license, what's called a BLA, a biologics license application, you get a license from the FDA to distribute that product in commerce in the United States. And so Pfizer got a license for Comirnaty. Well, actually, let me step back. The company that was making it was a German company called BioNTech. And that company then got bought by Pfizer. And BioNTech's Comirnaty, Pfizer then was like, hey, we own BioNTech, but it was a separate company with a separate license application. Anyway, it was granted, and the FDA, the grant of the license was for 0 days. So if you look at the label for the product, you would see that the marketing start date is August 23rd of 2021. And then if you looked at the marketing end date right next to it on the label, it would say August 23rd, 2021. So it was licensed and pulled from the market the same day. It was granted a license and then removed from the market. And then simultaneously, because this is a requirement for a statute to give somebody an EUA vaccine. And if you remember at the time, we had all these
emergency authorization. That's what that stands for. Okay.
We had these emergency use authorization vaccines. And the thing about emergency use authorized vaccines is right in the statute that creates the emergency use statute. It says you cannot give this to somebody against their will. They have an absolute right to refuse that vaccine if they want. That's by law. It's right in the EUA statute.
And that includes military people.
Yes.
Whereas otherwise you can force them to take it if they want to keep their job, their position in the military.
Not if it's experimental, only if it's licensed.
But can you give me an example of a licensed vaccine?
Well,
you would the measles vaccine a licensed vaccine?
I'll give you an example. I'll tell you a historical example of what happened was the anthrax vaccine was never licensed for what it was used for. So the military was using it in an off-label manner. And they had a different shot regimen than what it was originally licensed for in the 50s. And so when I got clients in the 1990s and late 90s, when SecDef Cohen was going to force everybody to take the anthrax vaccine, and he did, I was, one of my first cases were folks who had taken that, and I got all this material that showed that the way they were using the vaccine was off label, which is to say they weren't using it with accordance with the label. So I eventually was able to go into court. We were, myself and the lead attorney was a guy named Lou Michaels, and there was another attorney involved, a guy named Mark Zaid. And we were able to get that shut down because we showed the court, hey, they're not even using it in accordance with their own, with the license schedule. That makes it an unlicensed use of the vaccine. And the court was like, yeah, that's correct.
Let me freeze you here. When you say used, you're saying that they had a drug that would cure toe fungus. I'm making that up.
Right.
They used it to cure anthrax, but it wasn't licensed for that.
Bingo. That's called an off-label use of a vaccine. It's like if you go to your doctor and you're like, hey, I've got hair loss. And the guy's like, well, we've got this blood pressure medication that, as it turns out, if you take it, it'll make hair grow on a bowling ball. Okay. So just be careful, but understand it's for blood pressure. Now, between you and your doctor can prescribe things off label is what it's called. Because when a drug is licensed, it's licensed for a specific use, a specific dosage, and what they call an indication to treat a specific condition. That's how licensure works for both drugs and for vaccines. And so you get a license, you say, if I'm like, I'm going to make the best thing, it's going to solve, limp dickedness. By the way, the example I just used that grows grows a blood pressure medication that will grow hair on a bowling ball. I use that as a joke, but that was how Viagra came to the market. Originally, that was going to be a blood pressure medication.
And it made your dick hard.
And then in the trials, they were like, holy crap, look at this. It makes your dick into Sequoia. And so they were like,
people are like, hey, doc, I had a boner for 4 hours last night.
Yeah. During the trials or whatever, they eventually figured out that no kidding, Viagra will, I'm sorry, the other one was Rogaine was originally a blood pressure medication, not Viagra. It was Rogaine. That grows hair.
Okay.
And so in the middle of the blood pressure trials, they repurposed Rogaine and they got a license for it for hair loss. Rogaine.
Okay, now let me ask you this. Go back a second. What's the normally if I license a drug, I want to license it and get a license for as long as possible because I want to take it to market and sell it.
Yeah.
What was the logic between? Why did they do that? Why did they license it and then unlicense it the same day? Wouldn't they want to keep it licensed so they could sell it and give it to people?
And here's why. Because in the background to this, you already had this new way to bring drugs to market without having to go through all the testing and all that. And that's called the emergency use process. And the emergency use process, if a drug company is operating under the emergency use process, they get PrEP Act protections. And the PrEP Act was passed largely by Pharma right at the end of our litigation with them over anthrax. They passed that.
What year was that? Do you remember?
2005 is when the act was passed. It was 2004. It was right after we get the injunction. They came running into court in 2005 and said, Judge, you can't enjoin us permanently. This is an emergency use vaccine. That they created that new statutory pathway. And in fact, that statutory pathway has complete protections for the manufacturers. And so, yeah.
Who chose the licensing to be licensed and unlicensed in one day? Is that the government or is that?
Yes. The FDA did that.
In collusion with the pharmaceutical companies. They're like, hey, dude, we got this idea. We're going to license it and unlicense it.
No, in fact, it's even more straightforward. What had happened was the pharmaceutical companies went to the DOD and said, we're not going to produce a vaccine that doesn't have PrEP Act protections, because they knew it had all these adverse effects and people are going to get fucked up. And so they made sure that we're going to have PrEP Act protections, which is to say that the only way you can sue them, and the PrEP Act is horrific, arguably unconstitutional. I got some friends working on those cases right now, but it basically says that nothing, even if they knew it was harmed, is you can't do anything to them. They're basically completely immunized from ever going after them. The act is really terrible. And so what they did was, here's what the law is. The Emergency Use Act says that it is a statutory prerequisite that you cannot be granted an emergency use for a drug if there exists an already licensed drug to treat the same problem.
Okay.
So in other words, we're not going to invoke the emergency use because that says the FDA can basically waive all the protections. We don't have to look at manufacturing safety. All they have to believe, if you look at what the standards are for an emergency use, it's basically just that the FDA commissioner thinks it might work, but it's got to be under a declared emergency. So once there was the declared public health emergency, it would be illegal to give people the emergency use product under the PrEP Act if there was a licensed product already to treat the same condition. By the way, this is also why they demonized ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine when Trump brought it up. If those products could be shown to actually, they were licensed products with great safety records, if it could be shown that they actually treated or stopped COVID, then you would have a licensed product already in the market for treating that disease or condition. It would mean that the EUA can't exist. So a statutory precondition for an EUA, for an emergency use authorized vaccine or product, is that there can't be a licensed one already in existence. So what they did was they licensed a COVID vaccine, pulled it from the market the same day, and then the FDA commissioner sent a letter to Pfizer that said, hey, just so you know, we're reissuing your EUA, your emergency use, for BNT 162b2, which was the EUA version of the same vaccine. And so like, we're going to give you the EUA, and look, this isn't licensed anymore. We don't have enough available. So it's not available. They declared it legally unavailable for the market.
How is that illegal what they did? I can't catch why ethically it's wrong, but how is that illegal to do that?
Well, it depends on what you mean by illegal.
Like what if they're like, yeah, fuck you, we did that. So what?
Yes, they did, and that's been the argument. I've been having that argument in court for 3+ years now. And the difference is, here's why it's illegal, is because you had an emergency use product and then you told people you have to fucking take it or you're going to jail. And the whole point of an emergency use product is it can never be forced on someone.
Right.
And so, and what they tried
so these were their choices. We can force these people to take it with the license, or
yes.
But then that exposes us to litigation.
Yes. If they're
how come they didn't see this coming?
Because they thought they could bluster and bluff and blow their way through it, and they almost did. I mean, look at it this way, Sevi. You know how many people there are who have been litigating about this subject for the past 3.5 years?
How many?
Me.
Oh, wow.
Me and my partner, Brandon Johnson. So Brandon discovered this. That's how we found each other, is that we were scouring all the filings across the country. So I filed the first lawsuit against the mandate by saying, hey, you guys only have an unlicensed vaccine, you motherfuckers.
Right.
Screaming at the top of my lungs in the District of Colorado. They can't do this. They can't make them take an unlicensed. He's like, oh, whatever. And then so they had the the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Health Affairs, a woman named Terry Aderam, came out and just announced, made on a piece of paper, just wrote out and said, I hereby declare that these vaccines are close enough, they're equivalent, and no harm, no foul. And I'm like, no, you can't do that. Only the FDA has the authority to declare two vaccines bioequivalent. But the DOD, this was all a psyop. It was all intended to be a workaround. It was part of Biden's, and by the way, this brings us all forward to the big event that happened. I'm figuring you're going to ask me at some point, which is last night, Biden pardoned Fauci. And that's exactly what this is about, because that guy's his fingerprints are all the fuck over this, like a child with a sticky lollipop, all the fuck over this.
Dale, is this because they cared and they wanted to get the cure out as fast as possible? Or is this like Coca-Cola wanting to own the sales rights to Coke at, Cardinal Stadium?
Ding, 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 ding. It's the latter.
Yeah. They just wanted to corner the market and get their shit out.
Yeah, this was all done with malice aforethought, with knowing full well there's no other way you could have designed such a thing. It was intended to fool people, and it did. I've got filings and cases, and judges look at me like I'm crazy. Not just my military cases. I've got other people. Like I got a client who's an airline pilot who was shit canned for not taking an unlicensed vaccine. He pointed out the same thing. He's like, these aren't even licensed. You know, all the airlines, everybody rushed to have these vaccine mandates and tell people, you got to take this or you lose your job. That was Biden's government did that. That was a wink and a nudge. And and even judges went along with it. That's all changing now, though, you know, with the changing of the political regimes and all that, and in litigation. So when I say we're about to get a decision, what I mean is we were able to show the judge, we're like, Judge, they never had any licensed vaccines. So they told these guys to take it and they didn't fucking have it.
And Dale, I'm wading into territory I don't know shit about, but I think I also read the other way, the only other way that, and this is really scary if this is true, the only other way that vaccine companies, vaccine producing companies can get an exemption from lawsuits is if they get the vaccine authorized for children also.
Yeah, that's all part of the vaccine injury compensation system, the vaccine injury court. So the Court of Federal Claims where I practice is also the vaccine injury court. And so you have to go through this process and there's a CICP. They have the Vaccine Injury Compensation Program under the 86 Act. And then they've got the new countermeasures injury compensation program, which has paid a grand total right now of like, people have been at this for years and all the hoops you have to jump through. It's all designed to protect the pocketbooks of Pfizer and
it's all money so the way it works, if I understand right, is we pay taxes, they use those taxes to buy us vaccines, then they pretend to give them to us free at Target and give us a $250 gift card when really it was all of our own money in the first place. And on top of that, if you're injured, you can sue, but the pile of money you're suing is really your own money too, because we all pay into it.
Yes.
So
that's part of the tax that's put on that's part of how this all works is when something gets listed on the childhood schedule, then this surcharge comes off, and that surcharge is what goes into the vaccine injury compensation program. Yeah.
So it's all our money.
Yes, largely, yeah. And it was with COVID for sure. It was a multi-billion-dollar giveaway.
How much money did taxpayers pay for
Billions.
The entire COVID thing? And the money, I know we gave money to the companies for research, and then I know we bought the billions of doses of vaccines. Trillions.
It's trillions, yeah, for sure.
Just the American citizens.
Yeah. Look at the Inflation Reduction Act or whatever, or the COVID, the thing they passed. That was a multi-trillion-dollar ad. I tell you, this is funny. People don't realize it reset the baseline for the federal budget. This was a giant giveaway. I mean, an absolute pillaging of the fisc, of the public trust, of that money, of our tax dollars. Not only our tax dollars. What's interesting is we're so far over budget that we're not even taking tax dollars anymore. We're taking future. That's what, once the government learned that it could get away with borrowing against the future, that's money that your grandkids are on the hook for now. So we're 35 trillion in debt, 36 trillion in debt and rising. And where the fuck's that going to come from? Well, that's all debt that's being pushed onto your kids. Your grandkids are now on the hook for 35 trillion. Somebody's going to pay that, or we're going to collapse. The dollar's going to collapse, or there's going to be a reset. I mean, you can only kick the can down the road for so long before the U.S. defaults on its obligations. We're probably not far from that.
Why not? And the reason why they went with emergency use authorization to get the exemption instead of getting it approved for kids is that would have taken too long. It
would not have come with PrEP Act protections, and PrEP Act protections.
Oh, it doesn't come with PrEP. I thought that's what it does do. No,
the PrEP Act is something separate, and the PrEP Act basically says you can't sue anybody who administers or who manufactured one of these fake vaccines, one of these mRNA fucking tragedies, Frankenvectors. You're not allowed to sue them, or you can sue them, but the hurdles you have to get over are insurmountable. I mean, it basically. There are things in there like just crazy kinds of things. Like if you don't properly allege it, they can go after the law license of the plaintiffs' attorneys who are suing the vaccine companies. Like it's designed to tell potential plaintiffs' attorneys that if you come down this road, we will go after your law license. And that's what they do. And so you get nobody wanting to sue the vaccine companies. I mean, there are all kinds of things like that they put in there in the PrEP Act. But essentially it immunizes these companies. It means that, and at worst case, that the government will step in to accept their liability. I mean, it's a complete fucking giveaway, a complete shield for pharma. It's sick. It's disgusting.
Is he going to go away? Reagan did this? This is a Reagan thing?
Yeah, 1986 was no, he didn't do the PrEP Act. That's 2005. That was Bush. But the 86 Act, really, it became when Reagan, and nobody thought this at the time, but if you look at how many shots there were, how many vaccines there were for kids prior to the 1986 Vaccine Injury Compensation Act, whatever that Bayh-Dole, I think. Yeah, whatever that Bayh-Dole Act was that created all of this. That's the one that basically said that people like Anthony Fauci, government employees, could share in the profits of the technologies that they created. And that's why there's still a fight, or at least there were lawsuits over who owns the mRNA technology. So Moderna, which was originally founded by DARPA, by Defense Advanced Research Projects money. So
that's a government org?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it took money from DARPA. A bunch of their startup money was from DARPA for Moderna. And so Moderna and Pfizer both went down this road of mRNA technology. And the important thing, I was telling somebody yesterday, I was having this conversation with somebody yesterday. It's amazing to me how much the normies don't know, because I'm living this, I'm steeping this stuff. But
right.
Like I was telling him stuff, he's like, "Oh, do you really think?" He goes, "I don't know. I think they just thought they were doing the right thing." I'm like, "No, that's fucking no." No, this was highway robbery, and it was with drug companies are fucking evil. They are. And so, but I was amazed that, the normie kind of thing, the response was, "No, I'm sure these people all just meant well," and it's like, no, they didn't mean well at all. There's not a shred. So we were talking about that. And I said, we're talking about the vaccine. I was like, they're not vaccines in any sense of that word. I was like, there isn't a single strand of virus of COVID-19 in the COVID-19 vaccines. They're not vaccines.
Nor do they provide immunity.
Nor do they provide immunity. The whole theory of it is this, and I'll tell you where it comes from. And you can say, well, maybe these people really believe it, but I'm going to have to go with evil until I see otherwise. It's one thing if you make a product and you're like, "Hey, I want it to save the world." It's another thing when you make a product and then you make it immune to liability, and then you collect big fat taxpayer checks and you make it impossible for people to sue you, and you doctor the data and all that. Like when we get down there, those are enough things. It's like when your wife disappears and I find out that you took out an insurance policy on her for $10 million just a week before she disappeared. Like that, in any other context, that's proof of motive. That's right. At least a suggestion that you fucking killed her to profit. And you've got all of that same stuff present right now, and with Fauci. So what happened was the 86 Bayh-Dole Act allowed government officials to make money off of what the advances in pharma. And what that did fundamentally was made a guy like Anthony Fauci the controller of who's going to be wealthy as a result of taxpayer. So we, the taxpayers, paid for all this innovation. Yep. That's it. That's the one.
I heard that there's people there at the CDC who have patents who will get not only paid for the rest of their life, but their families will get paid when they die.
Yeah, they may be transferable. I'll give you an example of this. RFK a while back said that he made the comment publicly that the FDA, I made this comment. I don't know if he made it exactly, but I'll attribute the words to him, which is that the FDA is not a regulatory body anymore. It's a vaccine company with regulatory powers. The FDA, wow. The FDA owns something, the FDA and the CDC, NIH, they own something like 50 something patents for vaccines or related products. They've got an IP portfolio, an intellectual property portfolio worth in patents that's worth billions of dollars. So they're just another vaccine company at this point with the power to regulate. And so what they do is they're just in bed with all their pals. And that's why Anthony Fauci is who he is. And that's why he just got a pardon, because he's a fucking criminal and deserves to be hung. He should be hung by his neck until dead.
It's that bad.
May God have mercy on his soul, kind of thing. Yeah, absolutely. No question about it.
Dale, how many of the, what that word is?
Yes, you are. That Avera is absolutely correct. You are correct. There
What's
were.
he saying?
He's saying how many doses of Comirnaty were ever produced and distributed? 0. Public thought they were getting an FDA-approved mRNA vaccine. That's correct. It was part of the PSYOP. But I'll say this. I'll add to it one caveat. There weren't 0 produced. They actually did produce it. And I can even tell you why they did this. I'll give you the reason why. And it's a simple, it's just a cost-effectiveness thing. The vaccine that they got approved by BioNTech. So BioNTech,
which was a real vaccine?
No, it's mRNA. That's
Okay.
that technology. And let me be clear about what that technology is.
Please.
That's a modified RNA. And what it does is what they're injecting into your body is not a vaccine, it's not an attenuated form of the virus. It's not the virus at all. This all stems out of the Human Genome Project. And in mapping the human genome, scientists have convinced themselves that now we can manipulate the nuclei in your cells and what they spit out. We can hack that process. We can go in there, inject something into you, and it will instruct the nucleus of your cells to produce whatever proteins we tell it to now. That's what we can do. So the mod mRNA program, and the idea behind it is now people think that the human body is like a computer and you can hack it like programmers do, that you can code, and they don't understand any of the downstream consequences of doing that. So what happened here was the theory behind it is that we're going to inject this substance in your body. It is going to go directly into the nucleus. So it's going to bypass all of your body's immune systems. It's not going to be the lipid nanoparticle basically hides the RNA instructions inside a fat pill, basically like a little molecule that's the Trojan horse that hides the mRNA instructions in there. And what they do is they inject it, it gets absorbed into your body, and then it goes into the nucleus. It goes through the semi-permeable barrier and all that stuff, gets into the nucleus, and then the mRNA in there instructs your cell nucleus to produce the lethal factor of COVID-19, which is to say the spike protein. And the theory was that would then expose your body to the spike protein, and then you would develop immunity. That's the theory of it. That's all fucking bullshit. That's a hypothesis. It had not ever been proven. When we've used it on animals, all the animals die within 5 years. It's never been proven. That technology had never gone anywhere. But the one thing that's great about it, theoretically, is you can crank this shit out off of from the manufacturer, because you're not dealing with live virus anymore. You're just dealing with molecules that you put together. And so you can crank these out on an assembly line. It's way easier than the instability that goes along with trying to handle live viruses or attenuated viruses and all that. So this was the theory. And by the way, there's no science at all, no empirical evidence to suggest it would work, because your body's immune system works in a multi-layered fashion, so that any virus I encounter naturally, first I gotta, the coronavirus is coming, through your nasal passages. You got those cilia in there. You've got all this mucus. You've got all these membranes, all that stuff that attacks anything that comes in there. That's why you get all the bugs in there. And then you've got all this other stuff that kicks in and takes effect. So your immune system sees a virus long before you ever get infected. It's already been seen, and your body's working on the killer T cells, and all this other stuff is happening to protect you. And so instead, what they did was, this theory was, we're going to inject you directly, bypass all your body's immune systems, inject you directly with synthetic mRNA that's going to tell your cell nucleus to produce the spike protein. And somehow this is immunity will follow. It was fucking bullshit. It was always bullshit. And what's happened now is we've got people 3 years down the road whose body is still, the mRNA has now, and this was the concern of all the conspiracy theorists, was, hey, what if this stuff gets uptaken by my DNA and you alter my DNA? In other words, you get transcription where the spike protein alters your body's nucleus, and your body's cells start just spitting out spike protein and they won't stop. Well, guess what happened? There are people who are years down the road whose body is still producing spike protein, whose nuclei have taken on the instructions that were put in by the mRNA. They were originally told, no, it won't last in the body more than, it was 30 days, then it was 60 days, then it went 6 months. Then we kept finding that people were bodies still producing. We're years down the road. You've got people who are fundamentally fucked, whose body
and people are still taking this vaccine.
No, well, yes, some idiots. Yeah. I mean,
It's
you
on
know,
the schedule, right? For kids, like I saw the
yeah,
schedule recently, and kids
yep.
as young as 6 months, that's the one they're getting.
It's down to like 3% intake. Almost nobody is taking it anymore. In fact, we the taxpayers paid billions, and then it became clear pretty quick. People sussed it out, that something's not right here, and intake numbers dropped like crazy. But we had already paid for it, and so they've destroyed millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of doses of this stuff. Yeah, look at the stuff that they got. You've got to take.
Yeah, 6 months. So that one that Caleb's showing us now, it says 1 or more doses, 2024, 25. That's an mRNA vaccine that they.
Yep.
Oh, it even says on there. Holy
Yep.
shit! So people are giving that to their kids.
Yeah, it ought to be a fucking crime. Ought to be a crime. People who are doing that are God bless them. Those who are doing it in good faith, and it's unfortunate, but it ought to be a fucking crime. Anthony Fauci should be hanging from a rope out on the National Mall just as a matter of justice. Hey, we hung people. The Nuremberg War Crimes Tribunals in 1947, the doctors' trials, not the original, because there were two separate trials for the Nazi leadership and then for the Nazi doctors. And among the charges against the Nazi doctors were the people forcing people to take experimental, unlicensed vaccines.
So you're saying that he shouldn't be punished because of what he did, but because he knew what he did.
I'm saying all of it. Take your pick. But I'm telling you, it wasn't an accident. I'm telling you, It was not an accident.
I guess what
he
I'm saying
didn't just like, oops, oh my God, look at that.
What I'm saying is I wouldn't sue. Let's say I'm driving my car and I get in a car accident, my seatbelt decapitates me. I don't think the car company should necessarily be sued because they didn't do it on purpose. They're not putting right. But this guy knew.
Yeah.
Like the
more
detail of
importantly,
what you're saying about what they did to bring it to market, and the fact that they knew it hadn't been tested and all of these things.
Yes.
They knew.
Yes. And add to it this, Sebby.
Yeah.
They also, and this is the real kicker that most people don't know or maybe haven't connected all up together, is they created the virus. So
in that Wuhan lab.
Yeah, yes, that was outsourced because Fauci had been working on this stuff. You can trace the papers. You can find publications by Ralph Barrick, Peter Daszak, Eco Health Alliance, and Anthony Fauci, all dealing with coronaviruses and trying to put a spike protein on the furin cleavage site. I mean, all of that had been in papers leading up to this point. And Moderna had a patent for the vaccine before we even had the virus. And so the whole thing about vaccine development is, here's the way it works. How do you develop a vaccine? Well, first you have to have something you're developing it for, right? Or against a particular virus. So I'll tell you, there's this, I'm going to tell you this, and people are going to freak out, but this is true. You can look this up. There is, in all of this gene splitting stuff, you now have, we have an algorithm, and I can't think of what it's called. Oh, I wish I'd prepped. I would have you the name for you. But there is a public database, and there's an algorithm that searches. So among people who are working in these types of areas, splicing genes and viruses and manipulating that kind of stuff, proteins and all of this stuff, how do you protect your IP? Well, because what you're dealing with is basically sections of DNA, and it's just, there's only 4 molecules, cytosine A, D, C, and G, or whatever the pieces are of DNA. There's only 4 combinations, and then you can manipulate them. So there's a database basically of when somebody's like, I think I've invented something new. I invented a new virus, or I invented a new strand of proteins, or whatever. How would you protect that? Well, you've got to register it somewhere. You get a patent for it. And there's a database, an algorithm. There's a public-facing database that compares these things so that people can make sure that they're not stomping on somebody else's prior work. So that it's almost like looking at, imagine it's like this. It's like having a computer algorithm that compares music. Yes, but there's a name for that database. There actually is a database, and it's got a name. It's an algorithm. It's an acronym. It's like, oh God, I can't remember what it is. It's not ProSplicer, but it's got a cute little name, you know, like a 4-letter acronym for this database. And what it does is the equivalent in music would be, imagine if somebody produced a new song, but they could go to a database of all the music and a computer would compare all the different notes and structure of your song to everything that already existed.
Okay.
And they would be able to tell you, they would be able to find where you have, like, say, an 8 or 10 bar sequence that matches from some old blues song.
Right.
And people could go, well, are you stealing? Did you rip that off? Or is it just coincidental 8-bar sequence that matches up with an old song maybe you didn't know, you know? Well, that system exists for these viruses and DNA strands and all of that, okay? So somebody out of curiosity took the COVID-19, once people claimed that, hey, we've sequenced the COVID-19 DNA, and the circumstances of that were all extraordinarily fishy. People at Moderna in a weekend suddenly were like, oh, we sequenced the DNA. Oh, we got it. Look at that. We've got the whole DNA for the COVID-19 virus. And it was like, that was weird. You did that over a weekend. And so there was some question about that. Well, anyway, some curious researchers ran the COVID-19 strand through the existing database, and they found a 19-character reverse transcription that's a perfect match for the virus in a Moderna patent from 2016.
Wow.
15. And so so this algorithm then tells you, what are the odds? What are the odds that this was just random chance? And the algorithm says that it's a 1 in 7 billion, like it's a 10x, you got a better chance of winning the Powerball back to back or something. But it's like a 1 in 7 billion chance or something. And what was interesting is this paper came out years ago, and I've cited it in filings, and nobody wants to touch it because it's what it would strongly suggest is that Moderna already had this was already something they had done. They had a patent for a vaccine for a virus that didn't exist.
It's crazy that they leave a paper trail like that.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's the thing about systems like this. When you're dealing, you people do this kind of stuff, and what you hope is that it's like any criminal act. When criminals commit crimes, what they're thinking is maybe not specifically, but what they're hoping is that there's no signal in all the noise, that you can't tease out, that no prosecutor can pull on the strand and pull them. But that's what underlies most criminal acts, is the idea that I can hide in the noise, that no one will be able to get the signal. And that's what, Trish, I'll tell you this. Peter
Let me read
McCullough,
the question. Sorry, real quick. Trish, how long until treatment for vaccine injury?
Yes. So they're already talking about that. You may remember not long after when the vaccines came out, suddenly all the same companies, Pfizer was like, we've got a treatment for blood clots, and we've got a treatment. And they were suddenly announcing
They even bought a company that, right after. Yeah.
Yes. On that same premise. Yeah. That's coming. Yeah. They'll poison you and then sell you a symptomatic cure for the poison. They're unfucking scrupulous as anything you can imagine. They should all be dead. In a just world, they would all be hanging from ropes.
Rejecting the jab and getting fired from 2 jobs for doing so is the thing I'm most proud of in my life. A company I used to work for required kids to be vaccinated in order to come to bring your child to work day. I could not believe the amount of parents that got their kids vaccinated to go. Crazy.
So this is the real thing about Fauci and the preemptive pardon is it's going to shed light on all of this. And a lot of people who got fired.
Why is that? Why is the pardon going to shed light on it?
Well, because he was going to try
and admit it now. Is he going to come out and be like, okay, I did it?
Well, he no longer has immunity. So this is the interesting thing. You and I talked about this. You had me on to ask about pardons back some episode last time I was on, I think. And one of the things about a pardon is that a pardon takes away your Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination, because if you can't be charged for crimes related to that thing, then you no longer have a right to just shut your pie hole about it. And there's a very famous Supreme Court case about this, about the extent of your immunity and it going away. You no longer have a Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. So what's going to happen is probably The other thing about pardons is it's only for federal crimes. So if somebody wanted, so if a state prosecutor, we'll see if the Republicans have the courage to do what the Democrats did, which is to find a red state with a prosecutor or an AG who's willing, like Fannie Willis was willing to go after Trump, or Letitia James, or AG Alvin Bragg was willing to do the Democrats' bidding to go after Trump, to basically create crimes out of thin air. Will there be an enterprising, is Ken Paxton the Attorney General for Texas? Is Ken Paxton going to file state charges against Anthony Fauci? Is Alabama going to suddenly have a prosecution for Anthony Fauci? And then the question would be, even if they can't actually put a prosecution together, what they can do is force that piece of shit to testify under oath. And if he lies, he can be prosecuted for perjury. A pardon will not protect you from lying about what the underlying issues are. And so that's the real thing that's floating out there now. So I would predict that, and I know that there are people close to the incoming administration who know everything that I've just told you. And the reason I know that they know that is because I told them that. So I'm very certain that they have
and
this.
They didn't look at you like you were crazy. They were like, oh shit.
No, they did not look at me as if I was crazy. They were like, what? And I was like, yeah, there's the citation to the Supreme Court cases. And that is floating around in conservative circles in DC as we speak. That I am certain of.
So Dale, your settlement the settlement you might get might be huge.
It's interesting. So yeah, it could be a big number. I mean, we don't know, because in part the DOD lies, and you never know. The people that they
do
claim,
you give them a number? Or are you like, hey, we want $72 billion?
No, what'll happen is, and this is probably going to start happening before the end of the month, probably is my guess. We'll sit down with the prosecutors and presumably the people who are on the other side, and we'll have a conversation about how does this case get settled. But I can tell you that's already beginning. That has started.
Dale, if I got the injection,
yeah,
I would wake up every morning kind of tripping.
Yes. That's what's going on with a lot of
What I
Americans.
mean? Like I would have, it's like, when you're a kid and you threw eggs at the neighbor's car,
yes,
and your dad's sniffing around about it.
Yes. And you're like, horrible. It's only a matter of time before they find
you're
out.
like walking around the house tripping, like you want to throw up.
Yep.
That's how, if I took the injection, that's kind of how I'd be. I'd be like,
yeah,
I'm tripping a little bit every day. I mean, it'd probably get less every day.
Yeah. Yeah,
but
I don't know. I mean, if I went to do something vigorous,
for that, are you like, hey man, I can't, like,
yes,
every hour I have 17 thoughts. Am I going to have a heart attack? I can't exercise comfortably anymore. Yeah. I'm just tripping.
Yeah. So a couple things about that. One, there's my pragmatic answer, which is Dr. Peter McCullough.
Yeah, I would want a lot of money for that if someone did that to me, like a lot.
Yes. So Dr. Peter McCullough has a protocol, and he's been working on it. And I can say that, and I know he's got a company, he's got his own little McCullough Foundation and all this, and some people don't, whatever. He got vilified in the press as a quack and all this. Peter McCullough was, up until recently, like America's doctor. He was basically one of the leading, cardiologists in the world. He was like one of the most, kind of like Ioannidis was, or like Bhattacharya was with respect to epidemiology, like one of the world renowned doctors, doing heart stuff. And when he came out, he was an expert in 2 or 3 of my cases. He willingly didn't cost us anything. He was one of the few doctors who stood up and was like, hey, this is bullshit. You're going to hurt people's hearts. That's what I deal with. I mean, this is going to cause the pericardium to swell. You're going to get myocarditis. I mean, he was all over this and willing to put his name on the dotted line. He was, and I can tell you, they absolutely vilified this guy's reputation. He lost his board certification. Again, government went and leans on people. They got the Texas Board of Surgeons to remove his, to take away his board cert. I mean, they really went after McCullough, but McCullough has a protocol for people who've taken the spike protein. He claims to have really good results with it. And I'm inclined to believe the guy, just because I know he's been on this issue for a long time, right from the drop. And so
we had a triathlete from Europe somewhere. I can't remember the exact details, but he was really fucked up. I want to say he was from Norway.
Yeah.
And he couldn't say on the show, but after the show, he told me that he has a lot of hope because he's working with McCullough. And he says there's no one in Europe who will help him because they're terrified. So everyone has to come to the States.
Yes. And that's the other thing, is we still haven't gotten to a point where people I mean, it's still there. These government agencies. That's why it's really fascinating what's going to happen when I'm presuming that they're going to be able to get RFK confirmed. But you're going to see a lot of people maybe come out against RFK because they know. I mean, RFK ran Children's Health Defense. That's his organization, and I have a lot of friends over there. I did litigation with RFK.
Can someone explain to me how every leading government health organization from every country around the world was in on this?
It's not a matter of being in on it, Misha. And when you say that, you reveal that you're, in some ways, you're trying to discredit a phenomena that you're already misjudging. And it's not in on it. If you remember,
it's a fair question though, because that's how all people, you know what, someone said to me the other day, they're like, do you believe in the moon landing? And I'm like, if I had to bet money, I would say we went to the moon, but I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't. And they go, well, it's impossible to get everyone in on it. And I want to be like, no, dude, they tricked everyone in the room with that footage. Right. Like everyone in the room, even people standing right. It's like magic. Everyone standing next to it. So, is that really all the other governments were duped by our own scientists, right?
Yes. So the other part is, it's like saying everybody in, how could everybody in the world fall for the crucifixion? How could everybody in the world fall for the Council of Nantes or whatever how could everybody in the world fall for Vatican II? And it's like, hey man, when the Catholic Church, when Rome said in 450 AD, if Rome issued a decree, everybody in the fucking world went along for the ride. And so the U.S. government pays. Our money is everywhere. I mean, who's funding the World Health Organization? You know, who's funding the UN and all these things? So these organizations, these corrupt bodies, when these people come out and go, oh yeah, well, the UN declares an emergency. I mean, hey, look at this. The pandemic itself was fucking bullshit. There was no pandemic. There was no thing. It's like flu cases for that year cratered. We had 0 flu cases suddenly, but we had all these things. We had all the COVID-19. I mean, people, that's the result of a PCR test hopped up to enough cycles that it would return positives that were meaningless. There were massive false positives. And so when you ask, like, how did you get people to go along with it? How did you get people to go along with a fucking respiratory virus was going to end the world? How did they get people to go along with that? You know? And it's that governments are panicky animals, and they're easy to, they do nothing but go the way the wind blows. And once it became clear that you got enough people on board with the panic and the fear and all that, everybody's going in that direction. Everybody.
And there were some cases, I can't remember if it was Serbia or Croatia or Hungary, but I remember listening to one of their leaders speak, and he goes, hey, I've been watching a lot of CNN, and either those people are batshit crazy or I'm batshit crazy, but my country's not doing this.
Right.
We're not partaking.
Yeah. There were a lot of countries that said that, and you don't hear, and that's the other part about this.
Well, how did we go to home? She's like, fuck you. I ain't doing nothing.
Right. And so when Misha says that, how did everybody go along? I mean, buried in that question are all these assumptions that aren't true. And they show that the PSYOP worked on her, because a lot of countries didn't go along. And guess what? Look at their excess death numbers. They're way better than ours. And look at, Japan has come out and been like, this is a crime. Japan has now said they banished, they're talking about doing investigations and crimes. This would be a crime to take this, given the excess deaths that followed. But so the idea, it wasn't everybody.
Could other countries go after Fauci?
Yes, that's another possibility, for sure. For sure. That is another possibility. Yep.
Let me scroll down and see if there's anything I missed. I want to ask you, can employees go after employers who mandated? Oh, that's
so Trish, that's what I'm doing right now. And this is what I was kind of getting at before to you, Sevi, which is, as this information comes out, back to the original point I kind of started this with, is his pardon will raise a lot of questions about, well, what are you protecting him from? And what's going to come out of that is that people are going to find out, wait a minute, there were no licensed vaccines. Wait a minute. Like when we get a court decision, when we get a decision from a judge this week or in the next week or two, that says, yeah, you guys never even had any licensed vaccines. By statute, you made them unavailable. The FDA commissioner declared them unavailable. So I've got
Heart, Noble, Nike.
A lot of companies. Yeah. And by the way, that was also
Zuckerberg made his fucking people take the vax.
Yep. A lot of people did. And when it comes out that there was no licensed vaccine, so that's an issue right now in a case I have. And believe me when I tell you, the employer, I have, people who were in that exact thing. Like I said, I got an airline pilot. I've got other people who, have reached out to me and are like, hey man, my employer tried to force me to take this vaccine. And I got anaphylaxis. As a kid, I had anaphylaxis. And so I can't. There's a lot of people who have reactions and normally get exemptions, but this was going to be, we're going to vaccinate uber alles. I mean, it was insane. And a lot of people want to forget that. So will people have cases? Yeah, I mean, I think they do. I think as it comes out, the question is, will the statute of limitations have run already? In other words, a lot of this is also, a lot of these scumbags are like, if you can delay long enough, you can get away with it because the statute of limitations, nattokinase, bromelain, and curcumin, That's what I've seen. I just saw that yesterday. I looked that up, Ty.
Do you know 2 years ago, if we would have done this show would be pulled. I'd get a strike.
Yes.
I get fucking slapped around.
And so when Misha asks us, how did all these other countries go along, is exactly what I want to say, because vaccine companies because Pfizer is basically in control of the mainstream media, and they got COVID bucks for the media your media was being paid money by your government. Speaking of where money went, the media was collapsing. The mainstream media was in the tank. COVID gave them an injection of cash that allowed them to survive as long as they pushed pro-vaccine messages. We wanted to, and this was the government idea, justification was, we're going to reduce vaccine hesitancy. And so you could get government dollars to propagandize your people. It was all made legal. You could propagandize your people on behalf of vaccine companies to reduce vaccine hesitation because the government took our tax dollars, gave it to vaccine companies, and they in turn, they buy all the ad spots. Look at how much of mainstream media is paid for by pharma advertising.
Well, but why did Facebook? So someone like Facebook and Google, when they told their employees, "Hey, you're going to lose your job if you don't take it,"
that was a crime.
That is a crime.
It's something called unconstitutional conditions. Yeah, but you can't force someone. You cannot force someone to take a product that's a human rights violation. You know what I mean?
And
it would be like me saying,
where is it? Let me ask you this real quick. When you say human rights violation, where is that written down somewhere? Is that like the rule of the earth? Like we have a rule that says, hey, you can't force people.
The Nuremberg war crimes tribunals are correct. Mm-hmm. That there is a norm of human rights that you have a right to and if you ask me, where does it come from? Yeah, the common law has had this, and there's some great cases I could point you to. There's one called Abdullahi versus Pfizer. Interestingly enough, I think it's a 2008 district court case. And Abdullahi versus Pfizer, and it's Abdullah, Abdullahi versus Pfizer. Abdullahi versus Pfizer.
Muslim.
Yes. And one of the central point of that case was, there you go. That's the one. Yep.
Thank you.
2006. Circuit judge. And what it comes out of it is that it says that the Nuremberg war crimes tribunals codified the international norm that you have a human right to not be injected with an experimental fucking product.
Whether you're in the military or a citizen of a country,
it doesn't matter where you are, anywhere. It's a human right.
Okay.
And that's what the basis for the case was in the Nuremberg war crimes tribunals. That you can't experiment. You're not going to say, because if you look at some of the Nazi experiments on prisoners and gypsies and all the things they did, some of those experiments had obvious and very important medical. Like they did cold experiments on people to find out how much you could tolerate. And they did this because of the soldiers they had on the Russian front. So they had justification in the context of, hey, we're at war. I mean, the shit's going down. Germany's about to be conquered. So they were like, hey, the people we got, we're going to do these experiments with all these different gases and weapons and all kinds of stuff. And they experimented on people unwillingly. And when they prosecuted the doctors afterwards, it codified the notion that you can't do this. Now, the common law has always had this.
Did they turn anyone into a superhero, by the way? Were any of the experiments like, oh, shit, now I can be invisible when I want?
Yeah, I mean, that's the super soldier idea has always been out there. I mean, Marvel Comics is only the old Marvel Comics was only reflection of the ideas that were kind of bubbling around.
Okay.
You know,
Were
intellectually.
all the Nazi experiments fucked? Is there anything like where we look back?
No,
and like,
a lot of the stuff that came out of it was like incredibly valuable, but it's that they forced people to do it. Like
people
we're
died.
gonna
People
yeah,
died.
we're gonna put you in a room and we're gonna lower the temperature and see how long you last before you start acting stupid.
Right.
You know, like we're gonna
Right.
freeze you to fucking death until fingers start falling off. Oh, it turns out at 26 degrees for 28 hours with nothing, your fingers will fall off or whatever. You know,
What crazy.
yeah,
Okay.
they did all kinds of shit like that. Mengele did horrible things to twins. They were always fascinated
Stuff
by
maybe that's valuable in diving and space travel and just
yes,
other
yeah, for sure. Yes, there is.
Yeah.
Yes. They did high altitude experiments. Yes,
Hey, we live in a society that's so stupid that you know that doctors would let the way the logic works, at least in the United States, around all this DEI stuff and things like that, they would let people die rather than use some of that shit because of how it was gotten. I mean, we live with fucking wackadoodles.
Yes, we live with very, very stupid. Thanks, Department of Education. We live with a population that is fundamentally illiterate and innumerate as well. And I said when this started, that's the only reason you could pull this off is you needed an innumerate population, and they did. They got away with it because everybody's too fucking stupid to do basic math and understand that this was bullshit from the beginning.
I just want to throw this out there too, just on top of the stupid, but I want to stick with the vaccines. Recently, we had these fires in LA, and and all these people are complaining. It's like, hey, fucktards, half of all Black-owned small businesses went out of business because of COVID restrictions, social conditions put on the country.
Gyms, obviously. I mean, we shut down gyms and listen,
but just even the black, that was their whole premise. That was during the BLM movement. And while you were saying Black Lives Matter, the government that was supporting you to protest and burn down cities, you shut down half. They never came back.
Nope. It's one of the most,
like, to me, like the fires are nothing. It's just like, well, of course that was going to happen. Like they just did COVID. They just destroyed California with COVID. They don't care.
Right. And that's the point that you have to understand is the malice is in things like when you hear public health officials say, you know, oh, your mask protects me, you know, and blah, and all this bullshit. And at the same time that they're keeping open, they go, well, we need, and I wrote something about this called,
we'll come back to this. We'll finish that thought. We'll come back to this.
The idea that that this was about the public health when we shut down gyms and we closed parks and we wouldn't let people go outside, and at the same time we kept open liquor stores and
Baskin Robbins never closed by my house. Ice cream store never closed.
You know, like nobody can say with a straight fucking face that this had anything to do with public health. It wasn't. It was it was a mind experiment to see if they could rile up the public and you know, force them to take an unlicensed gene therapy product and they fucking did. People went for it. We got to see that they could do this. This is what the internet, this is what this thing gives us, the capability to keep people perpetually fucking terrified. That's what we learned about this.
Were companies, Patrick Bet-David, I guess, said on his podcast, I didn't hear it myself, but that is that true? The government was doing that. If you allow your employees to keep working there, they'll fine you.
I know this. I don't know exactly, and it depends. I don't know what he owns, but I know that, you know, people forget Biden, the military mandate, to return this to what, you know, we started with here. The military mandate was just step one in what was an all of government, and that's another term that's come to recently mean this new idea that we're going to do an all of government approach. I mean, people forget that Biden passed vaccine mandates for the military, and then shortly thereafter, what followed was the federal employer mandate. The government contractor mandate was insane.
Oh, that's
the OSHA mandate, and people forget that all these companies were running around. And then what was going on behind the scenes was companies were being told, you have to fucking go along or it's going to be. And so the airlines all went along. I mean, all the transportation we had, by the way, people forget we had a transportation. People don't remember that we had, you know, the mask mandate. That was all of those things eventually got struck down in court. But it took time to get, but the Supreme Court struck down the contractor mandate. It was like, the federal government has no basis for a vaccine mandate. And that's the other part that people forget is people have gotten so conditioned. And that's part of what the vaccine stuff does is this is all aberrant conditioning. This is getting people used to the idea of vaccines as a panacea, as a cure-all, and then now you can get them to take anything, stick anything in their fucking body. And whatever may have been the merits of early vaccines or not, I'm pretty convinced now it's all bullshit. But the reality is that the government conditioned people to get them to accept this, and so a lot of people just think, oh yeah, federal government, and don't have no understanding at all that the federal government has never been in the vaccine business. It's always been assumed in the 1905 case that deals with vaccination, Jacobson versus the United States. If you read that case, it says specifically that the federal government has no business being involved in vaccination. What that belongs to is viral outbreaks occur in places on the ground. Do you know what I mean? Like in New York City or in Altoona, Pennsylvania, or whatever, can have an outbreak. And so it's local public health officials who are the ones who have the authority to do this. It's a state police power. The federal government should have nothing to do with this. But people don't even understand those differences anymore. Federalism, what power does the feds? And so they're just like, oh yeah, Biden said we got to take a vaccine. Why not? Why can't he mandate it? Like
his patience was running out. Remember?
Yeah, right. For all of you, for the pandemic of the unvaccinated. I mean, what a fucking piece of shit that guy is. I mean, my God, he should be strung up for that alone.
Do you think he took the vaccine? Do you think Trump took the vaccine? Do you think Trump took it? No, I don't think so.
No, I doubt it. Hey, you need everything you need to know about the mandates. Everything you need to know, you can find out through the exemptions. All the people who were pushing it, Congress, court, they were all exempted from it. It's everything you need to know. And Ethical Skeptic on Twitter has been all of
New Zealand's first responders were exempt from it in the beginning too, which was interesting because they pushed so hard for it, but they refused to give it to their first responders.
Right. Hey, Sevi, none of it makes any sense when you consider this. The pandemic started. This is another point I always try and make. And again, courts don't want to fucking touch this. Nobody wants to admit that they all acted like fucking Nazis, like the Nazi regime for a 3-year period. Everybody wants to just.
And that's not hyperbole.
No, not hyperbole. No. And so, I mean, people got locked in their fucking houses. Businesses got shut down. Like you said, I mean, criminal shit. People should fucking die for it. People should swing.
And these aren't isolated incidents. How about what happened in New York and Pennsylvania? They were putting old people with COVID into old folks' homes. I mean that.
Yep.
Hey, could that chick get tried? The tranny, Admiral
Rachel Levine, Dick Levine, old Dick Levine.
Because there's some really squirrely shit that that thing did with its. You know the story. It pulled its own mom out of the old folks' home.
Yes.
That shit was crazy.
If you dig in on any of the people, the politicians involved, their words were which is you plebes, you fucking. You middling, you proletariat scumbags, you peasants have to do this. And then many of them got caught. Many did not get caught behind the scenes doing the exact opposite. From everything from Fauci off stage with his mask off. And then before he gets on stage, the cameras catch him like he's just off stage, puts his mask on. The whole restaurant fucking bullshit, masks. The whole mask thing it's about compliance. All of that was about compliance. It's all about conditioning.
I know it's such a broad swath. I apologize for.
No. We can talk about this. We could do many times on this.
Let me ask you this one about what happened in California, and correct me if I'm misrepresenting this. In California, doctors were told that around, you go to a doctor and you'll be like, hey, what do you think about this fungus on my toe? Well, if you go and then he tells you, based on what the books say, but also what he's seen, right?
His own experience.
His own experience. But with COVID, they passed a law in California where if you go to the doctor, they have to read from a script.
Yeah, if he says anything else, it's misinformation.
Yeah, he can't be like try ivermectin or anything like that. And they passed that law. And if a doctor gives you any information based on his knowledge, he goes to jail.
Yes.
Will that be repealed?
That's being fought in the courts and it's kind of kicking around. But a big, that is part of what's going to happen. I mean, to think about that, the idea that we're going to deny, I mean, especially you and I were just at this science thing and we get into that. I mean, I'm going to talk about that down the road anyway, separate from this. But that whole thing was, imagine that we were going to forbid doctors from from doing empirical medicine with the individual in front of them, and we're going to have socialized medicine from the top down, one size fits all solution. Fuck your individual. Oh, you got something genetic in your family. Tough shit, you know. And I've got clients like that. You know, people who had conditions, they're like, hey, I can't take this vaccine. And suddenly it was like, well, fuck you. You can't show that it does anything. It's like, well, bro, that I've got anaphylaxis, or I've got, you know, I had a woman come to me in the military who was 8.5 months pregnant, about to go on maternity leave. She was a Navy officer, and this was early on in the pandemic. Her command came to her and said, you got to take the vaccine. She's like, hey, I'm pregnant. I'm not fucking taking it. And at the time, the guidance was not even for pregnant women. Like, pregnant women should be temporarily excused. And so she's like, I'm going on maternity leave. I'm not taking it. And she had a husband who was also in the military. And they told her, nope, you got to take it. And her command said, you got to take it now before you on maternity leave. And she's like, I'm not fucking taking it. And she called me up. I spoke with her, and she was going to hire me. Didn't ultimately need to, but I defied her command to court-martial her over the refusal, and was like, go fucking head. I'll see you in court. Go ahead, tee it up. I openly told her command, I fucking dare you. I absolutely fucking dare you to court-martial her for.
And that would mean they would take her to jail?
It would try to. We would have a criminal case. And I was like, get me in front of 12 people, 12 military members, and we'll be done. I promise you, there will be an acquittal, and it won't take long. It will be quick. I promise you, it'll be quick.
And they let her go?
Of course they did. The thing is, most people, here's what I learned from my anthrax experience. When I first got guys who refused the anthrax vaccine, I had 13 clients, got 13 files in that case. Within a week, they called them all in, and in front of the regiment, not the regiment, the Marine Expeditionary Force commander, which is to say a 3-star general who's responsible for everyone in Okinawa. They called these 13 troops into his office, and they fucking leaned on him hard until guys broke down in tears. And, you know, and the old man gave him I can't, you know, this is very disappointing. And he used every psychological manipulation, you know, threatened and coerced and all that. And 10 of the 13 caved. And right on the spot, they were waiting, their kids in tears. They were waiting with the shot and gave it to him. As soon as they broke, they were right there to give him the fucking shot. 10 of the 13 broke. 3 didn't. I represented the 3 who didn't. I originally had all 13.
And once you get the higher ups to take it, they'll basically, misery wants company. They're going to make everyone take it.
Hey, I tell you how it works. You know, people, I've said this before, and it's uncomfortable. No one likes this. I said this, I don't know if I said it on another show on Brett Weinstein's, but I'll say it here. You know, the Nazi party did not put out a call when they were looking for people for the Gestapo, you know, for the hardcore. They didn't put out an ad calling for resumes for sociopaths. That's not how it works.
We're looking for people to drag Jews out of their home and take them and kill them.
Right. You don't put out they don't put an ad in the paper. Hey, we're taking resumes for psychopaths who like to torture other people and kick dogs, you know. So, but how do you get them then? Well, what you do is you don't do it that way. You create conditions where those people will self-identify. And so let me tell you how it worked in the military as an example, just so to put some concrete kind of reality to this. So they told all the commanders, you better get your people vaccinated, right? So now what happens is, amongst all the commanders in the military who command units, you've got probably a wide range of belief or disbelief about the vaccine and the COVID and all of that, right? But what you do is you tell the commanders, and understand, you just tell them quietly. You don't have to do it out loud. You don't even have to put it in writing. You just let them know. You hold a meeting, Zoom chat, you get all the commanders on at the highest level, and you go, you will be judged. Your promotion will be determined by your vaccination rates. Your success in this organization will be determined by how many people you get vaccinated. And what have you done? Now you've got commanders. Some commanders will be like, fuck you. You know, I don't care. I'm not going to lean on my people. But let me tell you something. Those who want to move up in the company will self-identify.
And that's why Milley got a pardon. And that's why there's so many scumbags at the top of the military, right? Because so many of them got promoted because they're all the scumbags, the sheep and the psychopaths.
What they'll do, Sevi, is they will crawl all over each other to make sure I've got 99% vaccination rate. Who didn't get the vaccine? Who didn't get the vaccine? I'll fucking crush his nutsack, you know?
Right.
While there are other commanders who might be like, hey, look, this guy needs an exemption, but well, you're not gonna, I mean, only 93% there, Sevi, that's not how you get to the top. So you incentivize, and then what you'll find out is the sociopaths will self-identify. Who's willing to just obliterate their own troops' rights in order to get their vaccination rates up? That's our guy. That's a company guy right there. I see Sturmbannführer in your future. I mean, that's how it works. That's the process. And by the way, I think that partly answers Misha. If you're wondering how the whole world went along, it wasn't the whole world, but back to your question, that's how it's done. That's how you get people to go along. And then anybody who doesn't go along, by the way, I didn't go along. I mean, I filed lawsuits. I was screaming at the top of my lungs. I've been doing it for three and a half years now. This is bullshit. It's fucking no licensed vaccine. And, federal judges, shut the fuck up. This fucking crazy man. Look at this.
My kid's dad got several vaccines and was diagnosed with gene-mutated cancer out of the blue in September. I don't know. I feel like it was connected.
Yeah, it probably was. I mean,
what's crazy is I was talking to a friend today and who has two very healthy parents, both physicians, both athletes, both crazy pro-vaccine, boosted to the gills. Guess what they got now? Heart issues. And I asked my friend, I said, are your parents making the connection? They said, no fucking way.
No way. No way, buddy. When you're in the grip of a delusion, there is no evidence. This is part of selection bias and how we work is, when you believe something, you'll see all the facts that go along with it. There we go.
Go on, finish that thought. You'll see the bias.
Yeah, you'll ignore anything that goes against what you believe. You'll say, oh, that's bullshit. Look at these crazy people. I mean, that's how it works. That's how selection bias works. That's how cognitive biases function. They make you blind to the evidence that's right there in front of your fucking face that it's the opposite.
I heard that the Clintons are in there. That looks like Laura Trump. Someone in the comments said Barron already looks like number 53. That I haven't seen him in a while. Remember Laura and him were huge in the last
who? Don Jr.
Trump cabinet. No, that was the
Jared Kushner.
Yeah, Jared. Yeah, Kushner. Jared and Laura were huge. Now she's kind of like tapped. She says I saw her in an interview the other day. She said she's not made for politics. There's Zuckerberg and his fucking pegger. There's Rubio.
Yeah, that guy should be swinging from a rope. Bezos
and his plastic.
There's Bezos who the WAPO was part of the propaganda op. He should be. That's why you can always see RFK Jr. What I like about, and I've never met him in person.
Oh, there he is. There's RFK right behind Bezos in the human fuck bag.
Yeah, and I can tell you that you'll always see the pictures of like RFK Jr. sitting around these people, and he's always got this pained look on his face, like he's got constipation.
Look at how they got her titties just centered. Sorry, I'm trying to listen to you, but they blocked. That was great.
Yeah, those are pretty good. Hey, so yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see as people come around, as there's an awakening and these pardons. Do they raise issues about?
He's already surrounded by reptiles.
You can tell he's uncomfortable as shit, because I think it's interesting. He's about to take over an organization that he's been fighting for decades. I mean, I've done some litigation alongside Children's Health Defense and those folks. There's Judas Pence. What a turd. Another fake fucking Christian. Another faux godly man. Just a complete fraud.
Oh, they're standing for him. Let me see if I can get some audio on this here real quick.
Yeah, is that for him?
Now, why did they go inside? Do we know? I haven't been following.
Security is my guess.
Okay.
For sure. It's not the temperature, although it is cold there.
Is Joey there? Is Joey B there?
He'll come shuffling in at some point,
Ladies
I guess.
And gentlemen, the 42nd President of the United States,
the
Honorable William J. Clinton, accompanied by the Honorable Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Criminals ought to be in jail. Should be swinging from rope. The Clinton global scam, the Clinton Foundation, that's as overt a money laundering as I've ever seen. And Al Capone is rolling in his grave going, all I needed was a 501c3. Jesus, if I'd known. If Al Capone had known, about 501c3s, he never would have gone to jail. He would have just set up a fucking money laundering scheme through. That's always the thing that gets the mob. And if they'd known to have 501c's, they could have just avoided all of it. Alphonse Capone is like, he looks up to the Clintons like, wow, how the fuck? I wish I
How about Dana White back there?
as the Trump guy.
Yeah, God, I love Dana.
I'd like to see him grab a couple people in there and start choking people out. You know,
Slap some people around.
yeah, just bitch slap some people. Grab Zuckerberg by the throat and punch him. You know, I'd like to see that go down.
Or how about give Bill Clinton a wet willy?
Yeah, boink, yeah, right in there. Yeah, a big wet. George Bush, Jesus.
Well, Laura Trump looks good.
Comparatively speaking, sure.
You think those things have had some work on them?
Things
are crazy.
I don't know. Tough to say. Maybe.
I love Trump's the head of his cabinet, that lady. What's her name? Susan something.
Oh, it's Willie. Susan Willie, is it? It's like Willie, Willie's chief of staff. She's his chief of staff.
So that's where the rioters were in that hall. That's in the tundra. The rioters.
I think so. Yeah, the rioters. Yeah. The rioters who were staying between the ropes, and I mean, again, there's another psyop. You know. Oh yeah, and he didn't bring Big Mike with him. Go figure. Everybody's onto that now. That's why she's not making any more public appearances, because everybody's got the cameras trained on the junk, and so it's like you can't. It's hard to hide that shit.
Is that Dana's wife, the hot brunette next to him?
I can't. It's standing behind. I can't see behind Obama.
Yeah,
I would imagine. I didn't even know. Probably.
God, I look at Dana just watching everything.
Look at him looking at Obama. He's like, I beat your ass. I'm this close. Take one for the team, Dana. Take one for the team. Right, one grenade right there. You just take out all that evil in one hand grenade. Kabloom.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Chief Justice of the United States, the Honorable John G. Roberts Jr. and
I can't say what I want to say because I still have my law degree.
The United States.
Yeah.
So I can't say what I want to say about John Roberts, but I have a model for predicting what a John Roberts opinion does. Whenever conservatives have some fundamental right at stake, and she's another faux conservative, Amy Coney Barrett, a complete fraud. But whenever Republicans have something at stake, if you're wondering what a John Roberts opinion will be ahead of time, you can just imagine that the Democrats have pictures of him with young boys, and then
shit, really?
And that's every time when there's Republican rights or Team Red, conservative rights or values or civil rights are at stake, John Roberts will always rule as if somebody's got dirt on him.
So you think people do have dirt on him?
That's the working model I have so far. It's had high predictive value. It might not be right, but high predictive value to that model. It works well for me. It worked wonders on the Sebelius case, the Obamacare case, when he managed to keep that alive. That had high predictive power. I was like, watch, he's gonna fuck the conservatives, and he did.
Hi, Caleb. I thought I'd bring the dog indoors for this one.
Hi.
What's up, Caleb?
Hey, how's it going, Dale?
Good. Who we got now? Who's coming up? Which two yutzes are this? Hey, what are the odds that while we're watching this live, they managed to kill Trump right here on camera in front of us?
That would be crazy. I've been tripping on how public everything he's doing is. Yesterday, his rally was crazy. Yeah. I watched like 20 minutes of it. I'm like, Jesus Christ, go behind a thick glass, dude.
Yeah, give him credit.
What are you doing?
Yeah, ballsy son of a bitch.
Biden shuffling up. They didn't
Who do we got here? Oh, there she is. Dr. Jill.
Easy deep breath.
Dr. Jill. Hey, after I retire from practicing
Tiffany
law,
Trump and
I'm still
Barron
gonna
Trump.
make you guys call. I'm gonna start demanding that you guys everybody call me doctor.
You're gonna start demanding what?
That everybody call me Dr. Saran.
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
Don't you technically have a doctorate if you're an attorney?
I do have a Juris Doctor.
Juris Doctor, yeah, that's right.
So,
oh, look at Barron's huge, dude.
That kid is giant. He's massive. He's a big
Oh
kid.
my god.
Hey, there's Elon. Look at Elon at the far right.
Look at Laura telling her brother to step back.
That Aspergy mofo.
Where's Elon?
He was at the far right of it. If you pan back, he's to the right. He was just there on the pan in. But
The Argentinian
Bill
president's
Clinton.
there as well.
yeah,
Oh,
Javier
he
Milei.
is?
Bill
Yeah.
Clinton. All the charm of a serial date rapist. Just, you know.
Is Hogan there? Is Hulk Hogan there?
How epic would it be if like Trump had
Tim Cook.
Hulk Hogan walk out in front of him? Yeah, he's huge. That kid,
Tim
God, he's
Cook and
kicked out
Dave
like a
Hook.
sore
Dave
thumb.
Beck.
yeah, he is giant.
There's
He's
God,
like
last-
6'7".
Last time Barron was at the inauguration, he was like a wounded puppy. Do you remember he was like falling asleep on
Yeah,
stage?
he's a little boy. He's a little boy. Now he's grown into a young man. Sorry.
Where's Tim
Look at him.
Cook's boyfriend?
He's giant. Look at him standing next to the dude next to him. Look, he's over Elon. Elon's pretty tall too, though.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
there is Elon. Wow.
Yeah.
What is that thing next to Baron?
I was wondering the
I
same
don't
thing.
know.
Behind him in the back
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
I
in the
don't know what-
black.
How about that thing in the red?
Also
Oh.
that.
That's another gnome, another troll.
I wonder if I'm taller
Is-
than her.
Is Bezos whispering into
Oh, that's
Trump's ear?
Google CEO Sunja Gupta.
Oh
Gupta
yes,
Sunji.
yes, that's who it is. Yep, there's all the oligarchs right there. There's your oligarchy. One hand.
God, they
grenade.
must be tripping so hard that they didn't do what Elon did. The other guys are like, "Fuck, he got in a year earlier than we did.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Hey, ballsy move on his part. Bold move to do it because, and I can tell you this, I've got sources in DC, and it was not a certain thing. Most people did not think Trump could win. I didn't think he could win. I thought he would not win. So Musk went all out, took a big risk, a huge risk. And now
He had the kid transition by the libtards, and so that really fucking lit a fire under his ass.
yeah, that he's gone. People don't appreciate. There are reasons. In fact, this whole thing could be. Trump too is like MAGA Bugaloo. The revenge tour.
Yes,
and I'm all about it.
me
I'm
too.
all about it. If he rounded up a bunch of people and had them shot, I'd be like, maybe I wouldn't have done it that way. But you won't see me protesting in the streets over it.
Hey, I respect Pam Bondi a lot. I mean, I don't know much about her, but I watched her confirmation. She's the shit. You like her?
My partner Andy Meyer, who's a Florida lawyer, the Florida bar is very, very closed. So like I couldn't wave into the Florida bar. I would have to they make everybody take the bar. They don't care. Very, very insular. And my partner Andy, his dad is a lobbyist in Florida politics. So big in Florida politics. Every lawyer who wants to be in Florida politics is a member of what they call the High Key Society. It's like Phi Beta Kappa or Skull and Bones for Florida.
Yeah.
So if you went to University of Florida Law School, which my partner Andy did, and he's a Florida attorney down in Tampa Bay, been in, he's 25 years my age. Florida is a country, yes. Well, my partner Andy Meyer went to law school with Pam Bondi. So when this all thing, I don't know, they were there at the same time. I don't think they were classmates, but they were at law school at the same time. So he knows Pam Bondi well. So
She seems savage.
yeah, he said, she's a smart attorney. She's no dummy. So, and from what I've seen, yeah, she was wrecking people.
Oh, those are the senators that are off to the right. I saw, what's the old socialist
Right.
guy's name? The Jew?
Bernie.
I saw Bernie. Yeah.
Bernie. Mr. Socialist with his 5 houses. There's another fraudster. All these people, all of them frauds. They're all
God, you know what? He should have had fucking Jay-Z in there, just like in the mix, just to make it uncomfortable for everyone. Like, got Giselle out of jail for the
How about
weekend. You
Diddy?
know what? He got a weekend pass for even Diddy. Yeah, put Diddy
yeah,
in there.
for
Get
sure.
him a weekend pass. That
What would have
would've
been funny is
amazing.
Diddy would have been in there, and how many people would have been like, "Hey, what's up, yo?" How many people knew him? That would have been the funny thing.
Like
That would have
arrest
been the
all
real
of them.
Yes. Yeah, right there. If you threw a net over the center of that screen, you'd be starting all right.
I kind of feel sorry for Jill.
No.
She could have been a good wife to a conservative man that she
No.
got hitched to the wrong pony.
No, she absolutely, much like Hillary drove Bill Clinton, Joe Biden drove Joe Biden. Joe Biden was a run-of-the-mill idiot politician. I met him one time when he was a senator, And bro, let me tell you something. There's nothing behind those eyes. Nothing. That guy's
Joe's.
yeah.
Maybe I'm just a sucker because I think Jill's pretty. Maybe I'm just a sucker for a hot
You're a
chick.
sucker for that. But I guarantee you that she drove that Dr. Jill wanted nothing to do with that her letting go of the reason Joe stayed around. And I mean, look at the elder abuse. He was non-compos mentis before he got elected this last time.
You think she tucks Joe in every night? No, she probably pays someone to tuck him in. They don't
Somebody
sleep.
else.
They don't sleep.
She's
in the same bed, huh?
overseeing it. I promise you, she oversees it. But
He's got like a hospital bed off to the side that they lay him in before bed.
yeah, for sure. Before they drug him up.
Hey, did they pay him to step down? Is there going to be some windfall of cash from? You don't think that there was like, hey, there's going to be $10 million waiting for you when you're out?
Oh, maybe, but no. I mean, he was told that he'll get, the same thing they all do. He'll cash in the same way Obama cashed in. There'll be a book deal, Netflix. He'll get the standard, but I mean, he also did pretty well. They might not give him that, given how overt he was about the stuff with Hunter, and that his crackhead son basically revealed how they all sell foreign policy. I mean, Hillary did the same thing. She sold U.S. foreign policy. That's what the Clinton Global Initiative was all about, was taking money to get.
Jake Chapman said he let Obama off from his mistakes because he's black and wants him to know not all white men are bad. You guys have sniffed out the libtard in me.
They don't know. Imagine if they knew you when you were going to UCSB, right?
Hey, what about DJI uplifting the geofencing yesterday so someone could fly a drone into the White House right now? Did you hear about that?
No.
The Chinese yesterday, they lifted all geofencing off of all their drones. You can fly drones into airports now, the White House, everything got lifted yesterday. Isn't that a trip, the timing on that?
No, it's not. I mean, they're sending a message, The
Chinese.
Oh, yeah. To me, if I were, you really want me to put a conspiracy theory out there, I think that Joe Biden was controlled and directed by Chinese intelligence.
So if you had $1 million and you couldn't keep it and you had to bet either way, you bet that he is controlled by Chinese intelligence? Yeah.
I would bet that there are all of that stuff with Hunter and all of that Joe was taking. If you look at all the things that were done, Brett, when I was on Dark Horse podcast, Brett Weinstein asked me about the vax mandate and all that. And he goes, but if it wasn't going to help and it was only going to hurt, why would we do it? He goes, it looks intentional. It looks like somebody was trying to hurt the military, and the subsequent purge of anybody who filed a religious accommodation and all of that stuff. I'm like, right. And I go, do you want me to say it, Brett? And he couldn't get away from it. He was like, it all looks intentional. It looks like somebody trying to harm the U.S., the defense of the U.S. I'm like, okay. I mean, do you want me to spell it out for you? Or, you can put two and two together. Do I need to explain that that's four? I mean, what do you want from me, Brett? I said back then, your government is at war with its people. We have just lived through a hostile regime. Yeah. Trump getting reelected might be the first example in history of the exception that proves the rule. The whole idea that you can't vote your way out of socialism. You can vote your way in, but you have to shoot your way out.
Yeah.
I think American people just voted their way out. This might be the one time in history that's actually the case. We might have just voted our way out of, but we had a hostile regime.
I can't believe Combe. I think Combe and Bondi are both 59 years old. I'm not sure how old Combe is. I think that's crazy how good they look.
Bondi's coming up on 60. As I said, she's she's contemporary. I mean, I'm 55, so she's roughly she's in my year group. Yeah, crazy, man. Crazy times.
So we're waiting for Joe to come out now. Does Joe come out next?
Yeah, Joe will come shuffling out.
Shuffling out.
Dude, have you seen him walk? Did you see him coming down the plane? I mean, my God almighty.
It's so bad.
It's atrocious.
Here's a good question. Go ahead, Caleb.
I saw like a compilation of just Joe just doing Joe things, and it was just him stumbling over stairs and fall. I forgot about the falling on the bike thing. He was riding his bike and he had to stop and he couldn't catch his balance and he rolled off to the side and everybody lost their minds about it. I think that was about the beginning of it, right?
Caleb, you can see he's wearing those shoes that they give old people because they have problems with their feet. The ones, the orthotics kind of thing.
Yeah.
They did that specifically. I mean, he is an old, broken man. And quite frankly, given what a piece of shit he is, I'm not sad for him at all. And I'm glad that he has to be dragged out in public so we can all see how not with it he is. By the way, that's another angle to all of this we didn't touch on. But can Joe Biden, are those pardons, are the preemptive pardons going to hold up when it appears that he's not in his, like, who actually signed those pardons? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, for sure.
There's a very real question about with Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, who's a good looking Marine. Good job there, stud.
Nice.
There's
How did you know he was a Marine?
Because I know that uniform, those big Eagle Globe and anchors on the neck. There's a captain, and I just know he's got the Sam Brown belt, the whole 9 yards. I wore that.
Is that guy just been asked to? Is he invited there, or is he just there as like security, like as part of the showmanship?
No, those guys are probably from 8th and I. Those are probably like the company commanders at Marine Barracks, 8th and I. And so the guys who do the silent drill team and the parades and all that. But he's got like no fruit salad.
Is he handpicked to walk out Melania Trump?
Yeah, that guy's got this captain. He's got I'm not going to make fun of him. Good job, Skipper. But he's got one row.
Tell me, what do you have?
He's got one row, and then his top award was a Navy Achievement Medal, which is, you get that for like to being a,
for existing.
Good job. Yeah, no, you got to do something meritorious. But I mean, it's like, it's not.
Yeah.
He's just got he's got a NAM, and then he's got 3. He's.
Dude, they should have.
Ribbons are hard to come by these days, man. You got to really. Sometimes they dish them out, but.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, if that was the Biden inauguration, they would have had a dude in a wheelchair. They'd have had a black tranny. They'd have had like a Jew. Right. Like they'd have hit all the soldiers to be like DEI soldiers.
Yeah. It would have been that guy who had the dog face.
Oh
outfit,
my God.
They would have brought that dude out. Like, it's all been a humiliation ritual. All of it.
That's right.
That's the part that has always made me think that Biden was controlled by foreign powers, was how obvious the rubbing your face in it was. It always seemed to me that it was just absolutely intended to humiliate the normies.
Welcome the Armed Forces Chorus and America's Tenor, Christopher D. Macchio.
I didn't vote for him. How's the America's Tenor?
Is this guy gonna sing?
Yeah, we're going to sing too.
If you need to take a pee break, Dale, feel free. I just took one.
Oh, cool. Good for you. Hey, somebody asked, what was the question? Oh, somebody had up there, who's the next ticket? Somebody asked, what's the next?
Yeah, that's a great question.
JD Vance. And who's he going to pick for his VP? That's a really good question. But it'll be JD Vance at the top of the ticket. And I think I know somebody who worked on his Senate campaign. And I asked them about it over a drink. I'm like, hey, your guy looks like he's it would be the sort of, front runner in the clubhouse lead to be the next, to be the top of the Republican pick next. And this guy told me, somebody who worked on Vance's Senate campaign and likes him a lot, said that he's the real deal and that he is that smart. Top of his Yale Law School class as a white male. So dude probably, got in there and he's, comes from.
As opposed to a Chinese guy or an Asian guy?
Whatever. I mean, as opposed to anything, as opposed to, to get in, first of all, he had to have the grades. And then here it comes, Joe. There you go. Look at him. Kamala, to make sure he doesn't wander.
Kamala must be tripping because she knows how fucked up he is, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness. What a
He's like, look at him. He's not even sure what's going on. You can always tell when he's stalling for time, when he's in speeches, he's got these verbal tics. Matt Taibbi talked about it, where he just inserts words and he's waiting. And then he has this reaction where you can see he sort of realizes where he is and what the fuck's going on. You can see him kind of like click on for a second. And he's like,
what do you think he just said to Kamala? He whispered something to her.
I peed my pants.
Yeah, probably. Right.
Where's the ice cream?
Where's the ice cream? Yeah, solid. Solid. Yeah.
God, Bill Clinton looks skinny. He looks like Alfred E. Newman.
Hey, you know what I noticed about Bill Clinton? An interesting thing. He was, and I know people who flew him around and worked in the White House. There's JD. JD Vance will now be the highest to the highest office any former Marine has ever reached. We've never had a Marine in the White House. So JD Vance, as a former Marine, he was a corporal. We were both in 2nd Marine Airway.
Hey, how does that dude right there not get in better shape for the inauguration? That dude in the front to the left of JD Vance. Like, I would like that dude needed to fast for 7 days before he came out.
Yeah,
couldn't even fit him.
Yeah. It's DC. But I'm amazed at how much Bill Clinton, you know, when Clinton was Big Bubba Clinton and kind of, you know, hadn't lost the weight, he was, he just had all the like mad charisma. Everybody kind of knew, you know, Bill Clinton just had mad charisma, crazy charisma. But then when you saw him, it's funny that like he lost all this weight and then it was gone. When he was campaigning for Hillary, it was like kind of like Obama too. Like you only get that for a little while and then they don't have it anymore. Like they
Monica
just
ate, you know, Monica ate his ass.
Oh, well, I mean, okay.
In the Star Report, she says she ate his ass.
Well, right on. I mean,
Nice.
The Star Report's amazing. The details.
yeah.
Should be published in Playboy. Probably. It's amazing, dude.
Oh man.
He had a bad back, so he always had to lean when he was getting a blowjob. Did you know that? He always had to put one arm up and lean because his back hurt when he was getting head.
A salad tossing mofo. There you go, Monica. Tossing some salad.
Mike Johnson. Oh, and there's the fucking vampire himself.
Yeah. Look at him too. That guy's got cheating his Undertaker. He's about 1 foot from the grave. All of these fuckers are. I can't wait for this whole generation to fucking croak. When will you die? Just fucking die, all of you. Go fucking die, for God's sakes. Oh,
Not Schiff. Who was that?
The House of Representatives, the Honorable Kevin F.
That was Chuck Schumer, another
Chuck Schumer. Yeah, he's a
human piece of
scumbag.
excrement.
Mrs.
You know?
Iris Weintraub Schumer, and Mrs. Jennifer Scalise.
Steve Scalise's wife. Yeah.
Who are they?
I think Steve Scalise was the Republican who got shot while he was at the game. Here he is.
Trump.
He's going with the purple tie. Interesting.
Is that Secret Service behind him? That giant man?
Probably.
Yeah.
Not that I mean, at this point, he doesn't need it.
I don't know why I'm so nervous. I feel like any of those Marines could attack.
Somebody's just going to bayonet him as he goes by.
Yeah, like I don't like any of it.
They're going to do the Julius Caesar right now. They're all going to turn in formation and walk in there and stab him from behind.
Oh, that's the purple tie.
Yeah. The purple tie is an interesting choice.
Roman Empire.
And she's going with the hat, like the that's kind of an Audrey Hepburn kind of look.
Zoot suit. She's going full Mexicano.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good choice for her. She's a pretty lady. She should
Look at the jaw on that guy. Fuck.
She should not be all covered up. But
Hi, Mom.
the rumor is that she can't stand any of them. She hates them all. The people who shafted her husband. He's
sure.
willing to look, you know, which makes sense. Trump's like, whatever, I got to get on with the thing of the business of governing. But she's Eastern European. She doesn't forget a grudge.
Yeah, my wife's like that. She loves everyone, but if you fucking cross me, you're dead to her.
Yeah, even if I forgive the person, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I do too. I'm kind of glad that. So she's the carrier of grudges, which I think is good. Nice.
Oh, and there's Vance's wife's looking smooth. Look at her in the pink there.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
She's hot.
Ladies and gentlemen, escorting the President of the United States and the Vice President of the United States, ranking member of the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, the Honorable Deb Fischer, House Democratic Leader, the Honorable Hakeem Jeffrey, and Senate Majority Secretary, the Honorable Robert Duncan.
Imagine he has to be up there with Biden, who tried to just ruin his whole life, take all of his money, put him in jail.
They tried to fucking kill him twice.
Yeah.
Imagine being in the room with the people you know were behind trying to have you whacked.
Ladies and gentlemen,
crazy.
the President of the United
Imagine
States,
that. Dude, it's Game of Thrones. That's why I said people don't appreciate it. Politics is it's fucking Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is just a fantasy version of what's always been
real life
politics, real life politics. I mean, if you look at the English throne and what went on there, you'd be like, Game of Thrones. That's where it's all based off of. It's all taken from English history, all of it.
I am surprised that Kamala never became president, that like he didn't die or have to step down or the cabinet didn't kick him out. I'm really surprised.
I think that it became clear. There's a lot of suggestion that Biden, like the whole way that went down, Biden being threatened and then him naming Kamala as his replacement was a stab in the back to Obama, who was the one who had engineered Biden getting shit canned. And if you remember, it was that weekend thing where Biden had just said publicly that he wasn't stepping down after the debate. He said it repeatedly. And then by the end of the weekend, he was stepping down. The rumor was that Pelosi had gone to Biden and said that Kamala is going to 25th Amendment you. She's going to say you're not competent if you don't step aside.
Right.
And his response to that was to actually name Kamala over the weekend. It wasn't even on presidential letterhead. There was this crazy thing that got tweeted out, but that was Jill and Joe's shaft back.
Fuck you to Obama. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's probably correct. And so then
that's why Obama took 3 weeks before he endorsed Kamala or whatever,
yes.
right?
Yep.
Ladies
Yep.
and gentlemen,
Because he wanted to be part of the picking of the candidate who was going to go up against Trump, because everybody knew how awful Kamala is. She's dumb as a fucking box of rocks.
Correct.
And so they all knew that. I mean, she can't string a sentence together. She is fucking stupid, just straight up dumb. I'm going to tell you, if people actually got to travel around the halls of Congress, when I was there in the late 90s and 2000s, early 2000s, I had to be around there for a number of reasons. But when you look into the eyes of these people, you ever talking to somebody and you're like talking to them, and you're waiting for the glimmer of like, is there intelligent life behind those eyeballs? And what you find out is all of these people, these public facing people, they're like human speaking spells. In the sense, remember that thing where you used to, when you had as a kid, you pull the string?
Yes.
It's like the cow goes moo. You know, if you point it to a cow, the sheep goes bah. So I met different politicians, and in every single case, when somebody presented them to me, I was in the military, I was in uniform, I had some fruit salad and shit, and I was defending people who refused the anthrax vaccine. So I was up on the Hill, and I met one of these was Joe Biden, and he came up to me, and you could tell there was we didn't have any meeting, substantive thing. He was just pointed to me by some staffers. And then he got to me and he was like, ah, and then he gives you his standard, like you pull the string and you get, oh, my son Bo's in the military. You know what I mean? He's got his standard fucking thing, and you realize that like there's no communication actually happening. And the other part of it I didn't understand it at the time. I understand it now that we've had smartphones around and cameras forever, but everything with those people is a photo op. They're hugely they're hugely cued into, and everything about them is the optics, what it looks like. And so you're having this interaction with them that's almost like you're just a prop. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they were the first Instagram influencers. They were doing it before there was Instagram.
Yes, and so the first time you have a couple of those interactions, you're like, it was like, what the fuck is this? Like, what in fake bullshit did I just deal? And that's why people say that Washington D.C. is Hollywood for ugly people, and that's not a exactly what's going on. Instead of the theater kids, these are the kids who wanted to be in charge and tell everybody else, what to do.
They wanted to be the hall monitors.
Yeah, of course. These are the people who are fighting over each other to be the ones who get to tattle on other people.
So everyone's standing.
The President-elect of the United States, the Honorable Donald John Trump.
There he is. Hey, he pulled off he twice now has done the impossible. Give the son of a bitch credit. I'm from Boston. From that area, I don't really. He's like, oh, you got to hit you in the face with that hat.
He doesn't actually kiss her. He doesn't actually.
Well, he can't. That hat is like 6 inches wide.
I know the hat was going to hit him in the face. He couldn't. That's why I said that's not a good look for her. She's a beautiful woman. She shouldn't have a hat. I bet that's just she's hiding her expressions and the daggers from her eyes at all the people there she hates. I'll bet you that's what that's about.
I don't see Ratcliffe. Sure. Have you seen John Ratcliffe? Is he up there?
I'm sure he is somewhere. Bezos.
I like him. He's dope. He's going to fuck shit up at the CIA.
Yep. They could use it. I can't believe how that place is falling. There's a Marine in a real Marine's uniform, the green, the service dress alphas. That's in a
so cool that he puts Baron right behind him. That's awesome. I love that.
Like a little bodyguard.
Dude's big. Kid's big. So they swear him in and then he's president. Supposedly he's got 200 executive orders that are going to drop. I don't know if they're going to drop today or tomorrow, but some of them affect me. I don't know. We'll see.
Wow.
They affect your case?
Well, the interesting thing is, I'll drop a little tea here.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
The president has had some of his nominees. I don't want to say too much here, but I have shared a lobbyist with the incoming administration. So we went out and hired lobbyists because we got a piece of legislation pending up there on the Hill. And we hired a small Republican shop to do our work. And anybody can find this. It's public. You have to declare it and all that shit. But we set up an LLC because you have to disclose that we were hiring a lobbyist for our legislation that would help all the people who got screwed, people who wouldn't otherwise have a claim, would give them a claim and all that. So we got this legislation. Well, we bet on this small Republican shop, and they were, you know, they believed that Trump would win. They kind of guessed not guessed, but they prognosticated correctly. And so now they have gotten some business from the incoming administration. So right now I share a lobbyist with the incoming administration.
I can't wait to have you on again and hear about that.
Will take their oath.
So we'll see how that goes in this coming week. But yeah, I'm
at the heart of our democracy.
Why do they always say peaceful transfer of power? Is that new?
No, well,
Have they
yeah,
always,
I think that's their little shot as Trump and January 6th. That's their whole the January 6th thing.
God, she's a scumbag.
Yeah.
We thank the committee and Capitol staff enforcement who worked so hard over the last year, and
Amy
especially
Klobuchar.
the last
You know what I
days.
loved was when she ran for when she was running for president, or when she was running for the Democratic nomination, is all the things that came out about staff who would work for her. It's how abusive she was, like throwing shit at staff. She's one of those people. A lot of those people are like that, by the way. Just absolute cunts behind the scenes.
I believe it.
She was famous for how she brutalized her staff. That's why her campaign collapsed over that. You can look up Amy Klobuchar and abuse of her staff, and that absolutely will get you a lot of returns.
President Bush and Laura Bush, Vice President Pence, Vice President Quayle, and Marilyn Quayle.
Oh, Quayle's
The
there?
justices of the United States Supreme Court are with us, all 9 of them, I counted, and of course, the Trump and Vance families. This ceremony marks what will soon be 250 years of our democracy.
It's not a democracy.
When
Oh,
leaders,
God, they'll never
elevated by
stop
the
with that
will
shit.
of the people, promise
No.
to be faithful to our Constitution.
Explain that, Dale, about how they do that dumb shit.
Yeah, it's all the again. It's part of the brainwashing. It's how you get the normies to go along with stupid shit. Control of language is control of everything. Orwell should have made that clear to everyone. It's about control of language. And so when they say our democracy, what they mean is, you know, them staying in power. We're not a fucking democracy. The founding fathers expressly rejected democracy. The worst abuses that you'll find, democracy, pure democracy, like they had in Athens, is the rule by the mob. It's that if we're in a room of 100 people, if it's a pure democracy, if 51 of them vote to kill the other 49, that's democracy. And that's legitimate. Socrates had to drink the poison because he was asking uncomfortable questions. And so in Athenian democracy, the Athenians got tired of Socrates' bullshit, just asking questions. And so they fucking killed him. And he was like, you got to take it. That's what democracy is. It's rule by the majority. It's tyranny of the majority. The whole purpose of the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, and a lot of it, was the idea that the most important minority is the individual. That's the most important minority. The minority of one, the human being, the individual. And so when they talk about democracy, that's socialism writ large. It's socialism with a nice marketing campaign. Democracy, our democracy. How would you democracy? You know, like the idea that everybody should have a vote on everything, and it's all bullshit. All of it, all the philosophical underpinnings of it. But again, we've got an innumerate and an illiterate population. Thank you, Department of Education. And so that you keep repeating stupid shit, and then people just go along for the ride. And then people will be wondering years from now, how is it that people went along with this? I'll give you another example. I wrote about this. It's a republic, sort of. A great example of conditioning.
There, she said it again. Why the fuck does she keep doing that?
Bro, those are the talking points. Though that's what you have. Democracy, our democracy. So that if you can, that's what polls are about. It's all if we can get a poll that says 51% want something, then they start screaming about democracy and how he's denying the will of the people and all that. It's always about power. It's always about power. But I'll give you an example of conditioning, and people wonder, right? Do you ever hear anybody ask Sevi about the Holocaust? How come the Jews got on the trains? How come they went along? Yeah. All right. So people will ask that question with a straight face. Have you been flying recently? Have you gone through TSA lately?
Yeah.
Dude, everybody's just in line in the background of these tones. If you see something, say something. Report on your friends.
Right.
And then meanwhile, here's people taking their belts off, taking their shoes off, putting all their valuables in a fucking little bin, running that bin down a thing, standing in line. Ashley just got groped the other day coming through. There's like 3,000 sexual assaults committed every year by TSA agents. Now you can't fucking do anything about it. And so people do all that shit, how did the Jews go along? And it's like, bro, how many million Americans give up, put all their shit in a basket? If right at the end of the TSA line, when you were getting all your shit, they were like, oh, we got to take you along, go this way, down this line, down this hallway. Do you think people wouldn't go? Be like, wait, where am I going?
Right.
No,
Right.
That they could have a hallway that led right to the gas chamber out of the airport, and everybody would just fucking go right into it.
Right.
Walk right the fuck into the incinerator. That to me, that alone would be justification for disbanding the TSA, a completely useless federal jobs program. And yet now there are kids who are going to grow up in a world in which there's always been the TSA. There are people who are going to grow up in which the NSA has always been reading emails. You know what I mean? Like this next generation has already been conditioned to see it as normative that the government is intercepting your emails because of more terrorism. I mean, all that shit, that's how it works. That's how conditioning works. Now we'll see if Trump undoes a lot of this. I mean, that's the big question.
Did we figure out why Dale has no skin tone?
Yeah, because if I have a light that's kind of blasting over, because otherwise I look like a human tomato. My head is fucking red. So the white washout is the alternative. Heidi, if you saw me in person, you'd be like, that guy's like a human red fucking dot, So yeah, if I move closer and turn this light, it'd be like all of a sudden I get redder. I'm red as a mofo.
Who is this?
Through change. It allows nations like
Senator
our
Deb
United
Fisher from Nebraska.
States both to avoid the obstacles
Who picks her?
and to seize the
She's the Senate
opportunities
secretary or some shit
God
like
has
that.
placed
So
before us, all while staying true
She gave
to
me
our
my
founding principles.
endorsement for my
Today
application to the
is
Air Force
our
Academy, actually.
country's
oh really?
Yeah, I didn't go though,
ceremony.
but she
Like
signed off
all
on
the
it.
other
Is she a
speakers
Republican or a
of our
Democrat?
right to
She's a Democrat.
Republican.
Oh, she's a Republican?
She has a huge rack.
Really?
Dude.
You can see that from that?
Yes.
For many,
You can't take his
many
word for it. He has such a
Americans.
skewed view of
And
boobs.
also for the
No.
nations. of
Sevi,
the
that's
free
amazing. If
world.
you're right about that,
But
that's
we
impressive because my boob radar is not picking that up at all.
What's
But
her
good
name?
on
What's her name?
Deb
Deb
Fisher.
Fisher.
All right, I got to look this up now.
Deb.
Now you've made me.
Fisher
Did
boobs.
you just type in Deb Fisher rack? Is that what you go for, Seth?
Deb Fisher boobs.
Envisioned for all of us.
I promise you, she's got a huge rack.
Really?
Celebrate not only
I-
They're probably down at her waist, but
but also
Detail
the
schmetails.
pride
okay. All right. I think you're right. Here, can I pull this up real quick?
their own
Yes,
Oh,
please.
man. Wait, you got a picture to back that up? Hold on a second. Oh shit, Sevi.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
Sevi, I gotta say, man, that's impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, you're the champ on that one.
nation.
Hey, listen, when we're together, if you tell me like, hey, 9:00, look, yeah, he's Ken Walters. That's right. He got those for 100 Bazooka Joe comics and $3.95 postage and handling. Got them in the mail. I always wanted to get those. I could never save up enough Bazooka Joe
Supreme among
comics.
the nations.
He looked
supreme
up
on
when he
the
said
earth.
God.
Yeah.
Let us pray. Remembering General George Washington on his knees at Valley
Washington.
Forge,
I hate people
recalling
who say that like that.
Abraham Lincoln at his second
That's not cool to
inaugural,
talk about when George was
with
on his
malice
knees.
toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right as God gives us to see the right. Remembering General George Patton's instructions to his soldiers as they began the Battle of the Bulge 8 decades ago. Pray.
Decades.
Pray when fighting. Pray alone. Pray with others. Pray by night. Pray by day.
General George Patton, who also said after the
Observing
war
the
that
birth-
we fought on the wrong side.
Martin Luther King.
That we
Oh,
should have been
yeah?
fighting. Yeah, Patton was like, we should have been fighting on behalf of the Germans.
No shit.
Oh, yeah. It's a famous Patton quote. We fought on the wrong side. Got to the end of the war. He was like, we were on the wrong side of this.
What was his argument for that?
That the commies were the bigger threat. That fascism, the Germans were really just, it was about nationalism and really Germany for, Ausländer Russ, Germany for Germans. And Patton got to the end and was like, yeah, that was a big mistake. There's a kind of an old, I don't know, uncharitable joke about the Russians coming in from east, that they raped every German woman they came in contact with as the Russians came into the east from Germany from the east. Now, that was Stalingrad will engender a lot of bad blood, but
And it's interesting. FDR, when the Jews were trying to escape, FDR didn't make an exemption for them to come through Ellis Island. He fucked the Jews.
no, FDR loved Hitler. Tried repeatedly to get meetings set up with Hitler, had envoys and all that. Hitler wasn't Times Man of the Year because of all, notwithstanding the retconning of that history, but Hitler was widely praised at the time for the turnaround.
Retcon, you mean rewriting?
Retroactive. It's what you do in comic books when you have to rewrite the history to make it match what the newest version is. So they go back and do these sort of retroactive. What's it stand for, Caleb? Retconning is retroactive.
Retroactive continuity.
Retroactive continuity. So you kind of go back, and that's the joke at the end of Deadpool when he goes back in I think Deadpool 2, he goes back and shoots himself, an earlier version of himself that had appeared in Marvel. And it's like you have to kind of make it all match the new thing. Comic books are famous for retconning. And so this sort of retconning of history that, oh, no, everybody knew Hitler was bad. That's all bullshit. Hitler was widely praised. Socialists of the day. I mean, we are still, we're a socialist country, a light socialist country, but we have been ever since FDR. He was a fucking socialist, as were
scumbag.
Huge chunks of his administration were card carrying commies. I mean, all of that is, yeah, we now have a very, very different, the history we have is the propaganda that was written by the propagandists of the 30s and the 40s of FDR, but he was a giant piece of shit. Did have a son who was a Marine Raider, volunteered, joined the military. So for whatever that's worth.
Hey, is Joe going to speak?
No.
God, I hope he does. God, I hope he does.
Oh, wouldn't you love him to get up there and start gibbering and pointing his finger in Trump's chest? I could have beat you. That would be amazing. That would be great. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see it go
going away.
Yeah, I'd like to see it go full Jerry Springer. I'd love to see like you see in those European parliaments sometimes, or those countries, where the politicians start beating the shit out of each other. It looks like WWE, people picking up chairs and smashing each other. I'd love to see that.
I wonder how many people under the age of 18 are there. I wonder how many kids are there in the tundra. Rotunda.
Yeah. No R. Rotunda.
No R. Thank you. My mom would be happy you're here.
Yeah, I know.
We thank you for the warmth and grace that she shows not only to this nation, but to the whole world.
Who's this?
We thank you for Vice
He's another
President
reverend.
J.D. Vance
I think he was talking about
and his wife
Melania.
Usha and their young family. May he be a strength to President Trump.
I'm glad to see that Trump picked a bunch of young people.
Me too.
I'm super psyched about that. I'm glad he picked Vance. Really glad that he picked the people that he's picked to be around younger people, new generation. And I obviously like RFK Jr. I hope he has the votes to get confirmed. But man, watch the knives come out for him, for RFK Jr.
Trump's not even there. He's already, like, right now in his mind, he's already sitting in the Oval Office signing paperwork. He's like, fuck, let's get this ball rolling.
Oh yeah. He's ready for this to be done.
I wish Homan was up there standing next to him too.
Supposedly that's going to start today. Did you see that thing Trump said last night?
In Chicago.
Yeah, well, Trump had a line that was like, the invasion stops tomorrow. He's like, and everybody who's here illegally is either will be out of this country or in the process of on their way out. And he got crazy cheers. You know, people went nuts over it. I'm like, yeah, there's not going to be a bunch of sympathy for the deportations. You know?
No.
Good.
No, I'm all about it. All about it. Who do we got now? This little kid's the ring bearer. This guy's got.
What the hell?
He's got a sharpshooter pistol badge. He shot expert with rifle, but he shot sharpshooter with pistol. What the fuck there, Captain?
Oh, those are Vance's kids and his nanny.
They've made kids apart too. I like that they've done that a lot. Letting
That
kids
kid's as
just
tall
sort
as
of
that
do
lady
that.
in the red dress.
Oh, yeah. Look at them. Look at the cute little kid. Just a poor kid sucking her thumb.
Please raise your right hand.
Oh, you
and
got to
repeat
pull that
after
thumb
me.
out. You got to pull that thumb out.
I, James David Vance, do solemnly swear
I, James David Vance, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will
He took this
support
vow
and
as a
defend
Marine. He
the
never gave it up.
Constitution of the United States
Against all enemies,
foreign
and domestic.
and domestic,
against all enemies,
and that I will
foreign
bear true
and
faith and
domestic,
allegiance to the same.
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and
allegiance
allegiance to the
to the
same,
same.
and allegiance to the same,
And that I
that I
take this oath
obligation freely
that I take
with
this
no
obligation
purpose of
freely,
evasion or
without any
mental
mental
reservation
reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose
or
of evasion.
purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and
And
faithfully
faithfully
discharge
discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
upon
on
which
which I'm about to enter.
enter.
on which I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. Vice President.
He's now Vice President of the United States.
Yeah.
Same oath that you get as a commissioned officer. All officers of the United States takes the same oath.
Yeah, the only difference for the enlisted is that you say you will well and dutifully discharge the orders of the officers appointed over
Yeah,
you.
orders. Yeah, officers appointed above me. It's a little bit different. The oath is slightly different. The enlisted oath for reenlistment is slightly different. Slightly different. Not quite the same. Caleb, how long were you in for?
I'm still in. I'm in the
you're
guard
still
now,
in?
but yeah, I did 5 years active. Now I'm in the guard. So
Oh, okay. Which state guard?
Nebraska.
Oh, nice. Nice.
But he's in
Please
Florida. He's
raise
been in
your
Florida
right
for
hand
6
and
months for
repeat after
training.
me.
Yeah.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the office of President of the United States
the office of President of the United States
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
He gets a unique oath that's different from anybody else's.
And he did point at him.
Yeah, he's like gave him the finger. Thank you. Now you
Thank
fuck
you,
right
Joe.
off.
Now go to your rest home.
He didn't shake Kamala's hand.
Yeah.
No.
There we go.
Nice.
What is that? Is that called something?
Yeah, it's a however many gun salute. I'm sure that maybe it's 21. They probably get a 21 for that.
Are those real rounds?
No. Yeah, Seven, they're firing them at the Capitol. They're firing them into Maryland. Fuck you. Or no, you know what they do? The new president gets to fire them at the old president's state. So those are going into Delaware.
Nice.
He's firing those at Rehoboth right now. They've got Joe Biden's summer residence dialed in. They've got a call for fire on that. They got somebody spotting around. He can fire it right at the fucking house. That would be epic. I'd like that. That would make it a lot more fun.
Hey, he should have invited Monica Lewinsky.
Oh man.
Put her in the front
Hey,
row.
he should have invited Jennifer Flowers and all of
Yes.
Bill Clinton's accusers. He should have had them up there. Tara Reid. Hey, what's Biden's what's the Ashley, the one who had the diary that said Joe showered with her when she was a kid and all that? He should have invited her up there. Should have had.
I want to make a quick note. The richest people in this country by ethnic demographic, by far, they have no one's even close, are Asians. And notice there's no Asians there, and they're not bitching about it. because they're fucking at home working right now.
Well, only for a little while though. They're coming up on the New Year, Sevi. You know, Chinese New Year.
Those motherfuckers are working. They're like, you keep doing this pop and stance bullshit, and we'll be here just collecting our money.
Yeah, well, but they're going on a month vacation, Year of the Snake, and they're the Chinese. They basically take the month off. Like right now in China, there's not a lot going on. Like
That's what happens when you work 100-hour weeks.
Yeah, right. You go, but then they go, and then they all go visit families. They travel a lot, and they just the whole country. There's like no economic activity for a month around Chinese New Year, but it's pretty neat. I enjoyed my Chinese New Year in China. The thing I liked best about it was I was flying during Chinese New Year, and I was like, Liang told me, I go, hey, didn't you tell me fireworks were illegal? And he's like, yeah. And we were taking off. I traveled with his family. I went with his family for their New Year's celebration, their Chinese New Year celebration. We traveled up to the northernmost border of China. We're at the subarctic part that's up into Russia, the neck of the goose. And we were up there, and we were on our way flying back in the middle of like the New Year, the Chinese New Year. And see, there's right there. There's one, Sevi. And
she's poor.
Yeah, of course, she's a midshipman at the Naval Academy. But we were flying back, and I've never seen anything like it. We were taking off from Beijing, headed south to Shanghai, and the fireworks over Beijing as we were flying out. I could look out the window and see all the fireworks. It was like nothing you ever seen, like no fireworks celebration you ever seen. The whole fucking sky, everywhere in Beijing, covered in fireworks, and I mean, just blowing off like nonstop. And I said,
global warming.
I said to Liang, I'm like, Liang, I thought you told me fireworks were illegal in China. And he said, they are. And then that was it. He was just like, they are illegal in China. And everybody, bro, they put on fireworks during the Chinese New Year like nothing you have
like
ever
illegal
seen.
Aliens are illegal in the U.S.
Yes. Right. And it was insane. I'm like, it's a crazy thing. It's a cultural thing where you're not allowed to have firearms. You know, they got all this stuff, but they'll let fireworks, man. They didn't even try and stop it. The Chinese government just looks the other way. As long as you're not trying to blow up, something that matters to them, then they're totally cool with it. But crazy how many fireworks there are in China. It's just a huge part of their culture. So it's like all this gunpowder, but
on a side note, if you ever wonder why there are no all the people in foreign countries, all like the Europeans in foreign countries that are like in China or Africa or Thailand or any of those places, do you know why that those are all men? You never see women going to those, like picking up their life and moving to those countries. Do you know why men are going to those countries? Anytime you see a European man or an American man living in a foreign country, it's a 97% chance he's there for sex. Just so you know, I just want to let you know, like women don't just like leave the fucking military and go to Thailand. Africa is covered with German men for one reason.
Yeah,
these are just so you know.
Hey, just to put a finer point on that, Sevi, it's not just that they're there for sex. It's that the cultures there, feminism, third wave feminism never reached the shores of China. China looks like the U.S. circa 1951. Women are seen and not heard. Shut the fuck up and get back in the kitchen. And that's that way a lot of places around. That's what that's what they're. Yes. You might correlate it with sex, but that's just the end state of they're there and women kind of know their place. And so they, you know what I mean? That's what they're there for. So they don't have screeching harpies breaking their fucking balls. Is largely what that's about.
Kenya's covered with German men, not because of the cuisine.
Right. Yes, it's not the
economics and the 6 wives you can have on 25 acres.
Yes, yeah, and for dirt cheap. Yes, and you never, even if you marry one, you're not going to lose half your shit if she decides to leave.
No, you just have to put her down.
Is he somebody asked a good question. What was the last question that was up, Caleb? There was a good question.
Oh, it was something about not giving out national defense ribbons anymore.
Oh yes. Oh, that was funny. So
sorry, real quick, David. I know you've been to Thailand 7 times. Trust me, I know. Go on. Yeah.
Somebody said they're not giving out the NDSM anymore, National Defense Service Medal, and it's that red. There was a great
thing.
Yeah, there was a great comic from years ago when they were giving those out, and for a long time when they shouldn't have been. And everybody got one. but there was a famous broadside cartoon. This guy writes cartoons for the military, and it was a Marine drill instructor. Yeah, that one right there. Julia said, "I know, Julia. They don't give out the NDSM anymore." I got two great stories about that. But that comic, there was a comic, the broadside comic, and it was like a drill instructor, a Marine drill instructor, like a staff sergeant with all these hash marks on his sleeve, and he's pointing at a lieutenant, and he goes, "I'm sorry, sir. I thought your NDSM was a pizza stain." And because it's a little red and yellow ribbon, it looks like a glob of cheese with some sauce on it. Looks like you were eating pizza and dropped it on.
Give me 1 second. Let's hear what the red man's going to say. Give me 1 second.
Oh, here we go. The orange man.
Orange man.
He's like, "I'm coming for all of you fuckers in this room." Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. Well,
his voice is hoarse from the night before.
Very much. Vice President Vance, Speaker Johnson, Senator Thune, Chief Justice Roberts, Justices of the United States Supreme Court.
You'd better get your shit together.
President Clinton, President Bush, President Obama, President Biden, Vice President Harris, and my fellow citizens. The golden age of America begins right now.
Hey, if Vance inherits the mantle, you could see 12 years of
forward. Our country will flourish,
from this point. You could
be respected again all over the world. We will be the envy of every nation.
I want to see Kamala's
and
face.
We will not allow ourselves to be taken advantage of any longer. During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first.
What a novel thought. What a crazy idea that the President of the United States should put American interests first. What a strange thought.
Will be reclaimed. Our safety will be restored. The scales of justice will be rebalanced. The vicious, violent, and unfair weaponization of the Justice Department and our government will end.
Damn.
Very sober Trump right now.
Yeah, and our top priority will be to create a nation that is proud, prosperous, and free. America will soon be greater, stronger, and far more exceptional than ever before.
Grinding him over. Yeah, Corey.
I return to the presidency confident and optimistic that we are at the start of a thrilling new era of national success. A tide of change is sweeping the country. Sunlight is pouring over the entire world.
Yeah.
And America has the chance to seize this opportunity like never before. But first, we must be honest about the challenges we face. While they are plentiful, they will be annihilated by this great momentum that the world is now witnessing in the United States of America. As we gather today, our government confronts a crisis of trust. For many years, a radical and corrupt establishment has extracted power and wealth from our citizens while the pillars of our society lay broken and seemingly in complete disrepair. We now have a government that cannot manage even a simple crisis at home, while at the same time stumbling into a continuing catalog of catastrophic events abroad. It fails to protect our magnificent, law-abiding American citizens, but provides sanctuary and protection for dangerous criminals, many from prisons and mental institutions that have illegally entered our country from all over the world. We have a government that has given unlimited funding to the defense of foreign borders, but refuses to defend American borders or, more importantly, its own people. Our country can no longer deliver basic services in times of emergency, as recently shown by the wonderful people of North Carolina, been treated so badly.
Yeah, boy. He's going after it. You don't get this kind of detail from the Dems ever.
Suffering from a hurricane that took place many months ago. Or more recently, Los Angeles, where we're watching fires still tragically burn.
Bro, can you believe that they
token
let
of defense?
L.A.
They're
burned to the
raging
fucking
through the
ground. Did you ever
houses and
think you'd see anything
communities,
like
even
that?
affecting some of the wealthiest and most powerful individuals in our country, some of whom are sitting here right now. They don't have a home any longer. That's interesting. But we can't let this happen. Everyone is unable to do anything about it. That's going to change. We have a public health system that does not deliver in times of disaster, yet more money is spent on it than any country anywhere in the world. And we have an education system that teaches our children to be ashamed of themselves in many cases, to hate our country despite the love that we try so desperately to provide to them. All of this will change starting today, and it will change very quickly.
Oh my God.
Hey, dude,
This is the not fucking around.
He's on a roll, dude.
Yeah.
This is incredible.
This is the
Holy
not fucking
shit,
around
dude.
team. Right on. Good.
My recent election is a mandate to completely and totally reverse a horrible betrayal and all of these
I don't know. You
many
think Taylor's touching
betrayals
himself?
that
Is he
have
a Trump
taken
guy?
place,
Loves
and to
Trump.
give the people
funny.
back their faith.
I can see why a young
their
guy
wealth,
would. You
their
know,
democracy,
I knew,
and
you know,
indeed
like for
their
those of us
freedom.
who are, been around a few blocks.
From this moment on,
I remember when Trump
America's
was
decline
like a
is
New York
over.
real estate guy. You know?
Yeah. He's killing it right now.
He is a uniquely American phenomenon. You
Our
know,
liberties and our nation's glorious destiny will no longer be denied, and we will immediately restore the integrity, competency, and loyalty of America's government. Over the past 8 years, I have been tested and challenged more than any president in our 250-year history, and I've learned a lot along the way. The journey to reclaim our republic has not been an easy one, that I can tell you. Those who wish to stop our cause have tried to take my freedom and indeed to take my life. Just a few months ago in a beautiful Pennsylvania field, an assassin's bullet ripped through my ear. But I felt then, and believe even more so now, that my life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to make America great again.
he went right there. I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. It's
Does he have his hair covering his
He's
ear?
claiming, you know what he's done right there? He's claiming the mandate of heaven. You know, that's the Chinese phrase for a government in the old days. For an emperor would claim the mandate of heaven. He's declaring the mandate of heaven. We still have all these secular, liberal, you know, materialist sort of ceremonies, but in the end, rule still works the same way.
That
You
is
know,
why
and
each
so he's
day
claiming the
under
mandate
our
of heaven.
administration
That
of
he is the
American
guy of the
presidents,
moment. It's hard to
we
argue
will
with
be
it.
working to meet every crisis with dignity and power and strength. We will move with purpose and speed to bring back hope, prosperity, safety, and peace for citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. For American citizens, January 20th, 2025 is Liberation Day.
Hey, it's funny. I just said that we were getting rid of a hostile regime, and he goes and evokes that same exact language.
He nailed it for this
It
podcast.
is
We
my
can now
hope
talk
that our
freely.
recent presidential election will be
Right.
remembered as the greatest and most consequential election in the history of our country. As our victory showed, the entire nation is rapidly unifying behind our agenda with dramatic increases in support from virtually every element of our society, young and old, men and women, African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, urban, suburban, rural, and very importantly, we had a powerful win in all 7 swing states. And the popular vote, we won by millions.
And by the way, if he fixes the election system, if he makes national voter ID a thing and all of that, what are the odds the Democrats ever win another election?
And trust that you have shown me with your vote. We set records, and I will not forget it. I've heard your voices in the campaign, and I look forward to working with you in the years to come. Today is Martin Luther King Day, and his honor, this will be a great honor. But in his honor, we will strive together to make his dream a reality. We will make his dream come true. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. National unity is now returning to America.
What about back pay for people who got kicked out? What about that, President Trump?
He's going to give it to him. He said,
yeah.
In everything we do, my administration will be inspired by a strong pursuit of excellence and unrelenting success. We will not forget our country. We will not forget our Constitution. And we will not forget our God. Can't do that.
Look at him going right there, too.
Today, I will sign a series of historic executive orders. With these actions, we will begin the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense. It's all about common sense. First, I will declare a national emergency at our southern border.
David, quick point. It's irrelevant if God is fake or not. You're missing the point if that's your response. It's irrelevant if God is fake. You have to think of what God stands for to Trump, and then you'll see the relevancy of it. God being fake is irrelevant.
Yeah, David, that's a lot less clever than you think.
Immediately be halted, and we will begin the process.
I know it feels like God is fake, dude, is clever, but man, you'd be surprised at how
from which they came.
How smart people view that
will
state.
Reinstate my remain in Mexico policy. I will end the practice of catch and release. And I will send troops to the southern border to repel the disastrous invasion of our country.
Here he goes. The one thing that everybody had always, I wondered if he would do it. He's gonna secure the border with the military. It's one function, the one legitimate function you could say for a military
the cartels
would be that it defends the borders of its nation.
Terrorist organizations.
Oh shit!
On its own land.
Did you hear that? He's going to deem the cartels terrorist organizations.
Yeah, I had heard that was coming. There's a lot of people that are taking cartel money who aren't happy.
Alien Enemies Act of 1798, I will direct our government to use the full and immense power of federal and state law enforcement to eliminate the presence of all foreign gangs and criminal networks, bringing devastating crime to U.S. soil, including our cities and inner cities. As Commander-in-Chief, I have no higher responsibility than to defend our country from threats and invasions, and that is exactly what I am going to do. We will do it at a level that nobody's ever seen before. Next, I will direct all members of my cabinet to marshal the vast powers at their disposal to defeat what was record inflation and rapidly bring down costs and prices.
Don't print any more money. There's a fucking start for you.
The inflation
Turn off the money
crisis
spigot.
was caused by massive overspending and escalating energy prices, and that is why today I will also declare a national energy emergency. We will drill, baby, drill.
Hey, Biden and Kamala haven't stood up once.
They're like, fuck. Scott Bessent, his energy secretary, is like, yes. Hey, I'll tell you one thing. It's interesting.
America will be a manufacturing nation once again.
There's one thing about energy policy. There's really
hold on 1 second, Dale. Hold on.
The
Wait till he
largest
takes a break.
amount of oil and gas of any country on earth, and we are going to use it. Let me use it.
Go ahead. What were you going to say?
one of the
We
things
will
that the
bring
big
prices
difference between
down,
Democrats and Republicans
fill
is,
our
and
strategic
at least Trump
reserves
and
up again, right to
his
the top,
enemies, is he
and export
views
American
U.S.
energy
energy
all
production,
over
as he
the
should,
world.
as an element of national security, meaning that
We will
it's
be a
not
rich nation again.
climate change,
Is
whatever.
that
That's not
liquid
what
gold under
U.S.
our feet
interests need to be.
that will
You need to
help
treat
do it.
energy like
If
other
my
nations
actions
do, which is
fail,
as an
we will
element
end
of your
the Green
national
New Deal,
national
and we
power.
will revoke
Yeah.
And so, being on the hook to other people, he's just saying like all he's talking about is really just treating
sacred pledge to our great American auto workers.
treating energy, national energy policy, as if it's part of national security is just fucking common sense. That's how any sane person would do it. But for a long time, Team
Okay,
Blue,
hold on one second. Hold on. Hold
the
it up.
car of your choice. We will build automobiles in America again at a rate that nobody could have dreamt possible just a few years ago. And thank you to the auto workers of our nation for your inspiring vote of confidence. We did tremendously with their vote. I will immediately begin the overhaul of our trade system to protect American workers and families. Instead of taxing our citizens to enrich other countries, we will tariff and tax foreign countries to enrich our citizens.
yeah, we'll do what they've been doing.
For this purpose, we are establishing the External Revenue Service to collect all tariffs, duties, and revenues. It will be massive amounts of money pouring into our treasury, coming from foreign sources. The American dream will soon be back and thriving like never before to restore competence and effectiveness to our federal government. My administration will establish the brand new Department of Government Efficiency. After years and years of illegal and unconstitutional federal efforts to restrict free expression, I will also sign an executive order to immediately stop all government censorship and bring back free speech to America.
Look at Biden and Harris won't even get up for that one.
Well, Biden couldn't stand up if he tried anyway. He's
Yeah.
down for the count.
Yeah. They probably just told him, he got prepped and was like, listen, don't try and stand up or down. You'll fuck this up. Just stay seated the
Be
whole time.
weaponized to persecute political opponents. Something I know something about. We will not allow that to happen. It will not happen again. Under my leadership, we will restore fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of law. And we are going to bring law and order back to our cities.
Good.
Hey, if that happens, if he pulls that
I
off,
will also end the government policy of trying to socially engineer race and gender into every aspect of public and private life.
Wow.
the eye just died.
Wow.
You guys leave Dale alone. Shut it.
We will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based.
There's a novel idea.
I'm taking notes. I'll bring this shit up, Dale, when
As
it's
of
over.
today,
Yeah.
it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
I love that we need a fucking government policy. Like, we need a declaration from the president to fucking acknowledge reality.
We'll shut it if he shuts it. Dale, they love you too. Don't ignore them. You're
What, my mouth hanging open?
Yeah.
This week, I will
I wanna eat.
reinstate
I'm hungry,
any
shit.
service members who were unjustly expelled from our military
Oh,
for
shit.
objecting to the COVID vaccine mandate with full back pay.
Oh, shit.
Booyah, Kasha.
There's
Holy
Dale's
shit.
retirement right there.
Right. That guy's one of them for sure.
Yeah,
Will
you know
sign
that's a
in
dude who
order
got
to
kicked out.
stop our
It's one of my
warriors
clients,
from being
probably.
subjected to radical political theories and social experiments while on duty. It's going to end immediately.
Wow.
Our
Maybe I'll
armed
stay in.
forces will be freed to focus on their sole mission, defeating America's enemies.
Sounds good to
If they
me.
change it to pussy and dick, there could be no confusion ever again. Instead of male, female, just it's pussy or dick.
Like in 2017, we will again build the strongest military the world has ever seen. We will measure our success not only by the battles we win, but also by the wars that we end, and perhaps most importantly, the wars we never get into.
It's getting crazy.
My proudest legacy will be that of a peacemaker and unifier. That's what I want to be, a peacemaker and a unifier. I'm pleased to say that as of yesterday, one day before I assumed office, the hostages in the Middle East are coming back home to their families.
I can squat. I can deadlift 400.
I was gonna say you look like you're good for a
No, I can deadlift 400.
Yeah, 405 is 8 wheels, right? 4
Yeah,
wheels aside. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Has 3 years coming.
What does that mean? Oh, I know Ken. Hey, Ken. I know Ken
America
Walters. We just
will
talked. In
reclaim
fact, I
its
got a text from
rightful
Ken.
place as the greatest, most powerful, most respected nation on earth, inspiring the awe and admiration of the entire world. A short time from now, we are going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, and we will restore the name.
It's shit like
of a
this
great
that I do,
president,
like.
William
Right on.
McKinley to Mount McKinley, where it should be and where it belongs.
Wait, what's he saying? Mount McKinley? What?
The Denali's
Denali.
back to Mount McKinley, and Gulf of Mexico is now Gulf of America.
I dig
President McKinley made our country very rich through tariffs and through talent. He was a natural businessman and gave Teddy Roosevelt the money for many of the great things he did, including the Panama Canal, which has foolishly been given to the country of Panama after the United States. The United States, I mean, think of this, spent more money than ever spent on a project before and lost 38,000 lives in the building of the Panama Canal. We have been treated very badly from this foolish gift that should have never been made. And Panama's promise to us has been broken. The purpose of our deal and the spirit of our treaty has been totally violated. American ships are being severely overcharged and not treated fairly in any way, shape, or form. And that includes the United States Navy. And above all, China is operating the Panama Canal. And we didn't give it to China. We gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back.
Wow. Huh.
Above all, my message to Americans today is that it is time for us to once again act with courage, vigor, and the vitality of history's greatest civilization. So as we liberate our nation, we will lead it to new heights of victory and success. We will not be deterred. Together, we will end the chronic disease epidemic and keep our children safe, healthy, and disease-free. The United States will once again consider itself a growing nation, one that increases our wealth, expands our territory, builds our cities, raises our expectations, and carries our flag into new and beautiful horizons. and we will pursue our manifest destiny into the stars, launching American astronauts to plant the stars and stripes on the planet Mars.
Did you see Elon?
Yeah. He ejaculated.
He just came for sure. That was fucking hilarious.
Is
Tucker.
the lifeblood
Tucker
of
Carlson,
a great
yeah.
nation. And right now, our nation is more ambitious than any other. There's no nation like our nation. Americans are explorers, builders, innovators, entrepreneurs, and pioneers. The spirit of the frontier is written into our hearts. The call of the next great adventure resounds from within our souls. Our American ancestors turned a small group of colonies on the edge of a vast continent into a mighty republic of the most extraordinary citizens on earth. No one comes close. Americans pushed thousands of miles through a rugged land of untamed wilderness. They crossed deserts, scaled mountains, braved untold dangers, won the Wild West, ended slavery, rescued millions from tyranny, lifted billions from poverty, harnessed electricity, split the atom, launched mankind into the heavens, and put the universe of human knowledge into the palm of the human hand. If we work together, there is nothing we cannot do and no dream we cannot achieve. Many people thought it was impossible for me to stage such a historic political comeback. But as you see today, here I am. The American people have spoken.
Show us Kamala. Show us Kamala. Show us Kamala.
Do you think she knows and she's just sitting there like, man, whatever? She's just like, this is so
you
fucked
now
up.
as proof that you should never believe that something is impossible to do. In America, the impossible is what we do best. From New York to Los Angeles, from Philadelphia to Phoenix, from Chicago to Miami, from Houston to right here in Washington, D.C., our country was forged and built by the generations of patriots who gave everything they had for our rights and for our freedom. They were farmers and soldiers, cowboys and factory workers, steel workers and coal miners, police officers and pioneers who pushed onward, marched forward, and let no obstacle defeat their spirit or their pride. Together they laid down the railroads, raised up the skyscrapers, built great highways, won 2 world wars, defeated fascism and communism, and triumphed over every single challenge that they faced. After all we have been through together, we stand on the verge of the 4 greatest years in American history. With your help, we will restore America's promise, and we will rebuild the nation that we love, and we love it so much. We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. So to every parent who dreams for their child, and every child who dreams for their future, I am with you, I will fight for you, and I will win for you. We're going to win like never before.
Meanwhile, on the TV, they're selling the Trump tumbler. You can buy a tumbler.
Yeah, of course. He's always got merch. Always got merch, man. You got to have the merch.
He's got crypto now, too.
Thank you. In recent years, our
He's got a
nation
coin,
has
right?
suffered greatly, but we are going to bring it back and make it great again, greater than ever before. We will be a nation like no other, full of compassion, courage, and exceptionalism. Our power will stop all wars and bring a new spirit of unity to a world that has been angry, violent, and totally unpredictable. America will be respected again and admired again. including by people of religion, faith, and goodwill. We will be prosperous. We will be proud. We will be strong, and we will win like never before. We will not be conquered. We will not be intimidated. We will not be broken, and we will not fail. From this day on, the United States of America will be a free, sovereign, and independent nation. We will stand bravely. We will live proudly. We will dream boldly, and nothing will stand in our way because we are Americans. The future is ours, and our golden age has just begun. Thank you. God bless America. Thank you all. Thank you.
We need to drop a bomb on the World Economic Forum. The globalists must be hating this. Is this true that he's going to Davos in 3 days to fucking put the smackdown on Klaus Schwab?
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, performing America the Beautiful, please welcome the Armed Forces Chorus and Carrie Underwood.
Woo! Carrie Underwood. Oh my God.
So are there tens of thousands of people outside right now?
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
How come they haven't shown us a shot outside the exterior of the Capitol?
Nah, I mean, is Biden going to read something?
God, I hope so.
He's got no cards.
I like when he does the I insert your name here. I dig that. It's
URL,
like
end quote, end quote.
End quote.
He did that in his farewell address. He said end quote.
It's great. It's great. Look at him.
Parentheses.
Yeah.
Oh, something happened to the music.
He is like a real life Ron. He's like Ron Burgundy. It's like a real life. He'll read whatever's on the teleprompter, man. That's all he does.
Where are the village people? Hey, David, real quick. You know money's fake too, right? It's just an agreement we have that it has value, that basically everything is fake, and it's all based on just shit that we agree on for civilization to move forward. So for some reason, you're like me and you don't believe in God. You have to realize that when he says we're not going to forget God, just insert what value God has to other people. That's what he's saying to people like me and you who are fucking lost souls. He's basically saying I'm going to support freedom of speech, the will to do what you want, to treat your neighbors the way you want to be treated. It's so juvenile to say God is fake. It doesn't matter. You could say that about everything. It's such a vapid, useless fucking response. Just insert what the meaning of God is for other people, and that's what he's saying.
Yeah. It's not nearly as clever as one thinks. I remember when I thought it was clever.
It's 7-year-old boy shit. It's like something my son would say to me.
It's teenage. Look at Biden trying to show he knows the words.
Who is she? I don't even know who she is.
Carrie Underwood?
Yeah, she won the American Idol, like the very first season of.
Yeah, and then went on a huge country music career and all that. She's married to a hockey player or former player, Mike Fisher, I think. She's married to a NHL player.
She's amazing.
She is. She's good.
Yeah, she can sing. She can sing for sure. She's like younger Faith Hill.
Were you texting some of your colleagues about what Trump just said?
Yes, people. My phone's been. Yes,
blowing up.
including from my bankers. So,
oh, that's awesome.
They're very concerned that we're going to get locked out and not be able to pay back our loan for the money we borrowed to be able to litigate these cases. So my bankers are worried that Trump's executive action could cut us out of the mix. So I have to reassure them that it all will be fine. Everything's okay. My retirement plan hasn't gone anywhere yet.
Okay, good.
It's all right. It's all right. It's going to be
Ladies and gentlemen, Senator Fisher will now introduce the benediction clergy.
This is the chick with the huge hammers.
I now call on Rabbi Ari Berman,
I don't know how you
Pastor
got that
Lorenzo
from
Sewell,
that outfit, but that's
and Reverend
impressive.
Frank Mund to provide prayers of benediction.
Dude, that's like you saw boobs through a green screen. I mean, that's amazing. Like, that's a fucking superpower.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's
Hey,
impressive.
and that photo that Caleb pulled up, she was probably 30 pounds heavier. She had to have custom bra at that point.
Yeah. Again, I won't question you anymore. Even if I disagree, you're clearly the man on this subject. So I'll just take your word for it now.
I should have called it a brassiere. I forgot we're in a formal setting.
Ah, yes, with the inauguration and all. That's
Don't
true.
ask him if they're nice or not, though, because that's where it gets all fucked up. He'll tell you if they're big, but those are the best ones. I'm like, dude, they're hanging at her knees. What are you talking about?
We shouldn't allow him to make value judgments, just judgments about size.
Exactly. Just objective measurements is good.
Yeah. That's good.
In God we trust.
So tell Dale, what were you saying about national security, the importance of
so treating energy policy, treating a federal government, a serious federal entity, any federal entity for any country, if you purport to represent the interests of that, whatever that nation is, that nation state, then its energy policy ought to be a reflection of its, protecting its people and ensuring that its people are okay. And the United States has vast resources. By the way, this is also what Greenland's about. I was talking to somebody about this recently. I think the whole play for Greenland is so there's the second largest deposit of rare earth metals is up there in Greenland.
What does that mean, rare earth metals?
It's all the shit that goes into making this.
Okay.
Computer chips and iPhones and microprocessors and all that, rare earth metals like lithium and all kinds of the things that go into making batteries and that shit and microprocessors, all those rare earth metals. The second largest deposit of that in the world, I think outside of Africa, is in Greenland. So that's pretty valuable. And so again, if you want to have a national policy, you don't start shipping that stuff overseas. You know what I mean? Like, you make sure that the other part of it is, Democrats are like, oh, we have to protect Mother Gaia and climate change and all that. And then they give money to green energy companies like Solinger, like Obama did, and they fucking fail. And it's all a scam. It's just to pay off your friends, regardless. Regardless of what it really means for the national politics. And so Trump has said, for example, those wind farms that they're trying to build. Yeah, I didn't think she was season 1. I thought she was like season 4. Yeah, that's right.
All right, my bad. Sorry.
Yeah, whatever. No, I mean that you knew it. I knew she was. Yeah, there we go. Mike McCaskey's there. Gadolinium, scandium, terbium, yttrium, erbium. Yeah, all that shit. I'll take your word for it. Holmium. Nice. But all of those things, those rare earth metals are necessary, and that's what the play for Greenland is. I also think it's a place where they're going to consider building nuke power plants. It's out in the middle of, like, most of Greenland is uninhabitable. You build nuke plants there out away from everything, and then you can build the transmission lines, and that's a great way to really boost energy. Would be if we could do nuke, off the grid, where Americans get comfortable with the idea of having nuke, even though we've got nuke power plants in we've got nuke power plants with nuclear missiles sitting on top of them in most of the harbors around the country. Nuclear submarines, the U.S. ballistic missile submarines, they're nuclear powered, and they've got nuclear missiles sitting right on top of those nuclear reactors, and they're sitting in the ports of American cities all around the country. Everybody ignores that, though, in the green energy weenies, to say we can't have nuclear. We don't have safe nuclear. It's like, we can have nuclear under pressure, under fucking water, with nuclear missiles on top of it, and you're telling me we can't build a safe nuclear reactor? What are you, fucking crazy? Are you kidding me? The military has been making nuclear reactors for ships and subs for how long? And we park them right in, Mayport, Florida, Kings Bay, Georgia, Bremerton, Washington. I mean, those cities are all filled with not just nuclear power plants, but nuclear power plants that have nuclear fucking missiles sitting right on top of them. So I think Greenland, the play for that. Anyway, back to the point about national security energy policy, is you treat energy as something. It's critical for a country, and the U.S. has massive natural resources, and Democrats are like, oh, you're raping Mother Gaia. And it's like, maybe we ought to worry about the guy's got that guy was a Medal of Honor winner. That was the kid who went to South Carolina. He graduated with Molly, with one of my daughters.
Who is this guy speaking now?
We believe that you will make this come
Lorenzo
true.
Sewell.
So let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring.
I think
from
this
the
is like
snow-capped
Martin Luther
Rockies
King
of
thing here.
Colorado. Let freedom ring from the curvaceous hilltops of California. But God, we're asking you not only that. Let freedom ring from Stone Mountain, Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and every molehill in Mississippi,
This
from
is
every state,
East Coast
every
bias.
city,
I
every
don't like
village,
it.
and every hamlet.
Yeah.
And
He's
when
in Colorado.
we let freedom ring,
He
we
did say
will
California.
be able to speed up that day where all of your children, black men and white men, Protestant and Catholic, Jew and Gentile, will be able to sing in the meaning of that old Negro spiritual.
He's
Free
put
at
on like
last,
5,000 followers just
free
since
at
this time on.
last. Thank
Yeah.
you, God Almighty.
This
We
is
are
Martin
free
Luther
at
King's
last.
speech.
If
Yeah.
you believe with the
It's
Spirit of the Lord
MLK's
is,
speech.
there is liberty. Come on, put your hands together and give your great God great glory.
Martin Luther King's speech. Free at last, thank God Almighty, free at last. Great.
So that was a performance piece.
Yeah.
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 Cool. I like it. I like it better now. I like it better knowing it was a performance piece now.
He just put on 4,000 followers on Instagram just for that.
Almighty and eternal God, we gather here today in reverence, joined in our shared hopes and dreams for our beloved nation. In this sacred moment of the inauguration of President Donald J. Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance, we turn our hearts to you, seeking your divine assistance and abundant blessings upon this pivotal moment in history. We come before you with profound gratitude for the many gifts you have bestowed upon our land. Thank you for the freedoms we cherish. For the
Hey, no shit. It's pretty impressive that Biden can stand there with his eyes closed and not sway. That's not
Yeah.
easy.
No, yeah, not fall over.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive, dude.
that your everlasting love and wisdom will envelop them. Grant them the clarity of mind to navigate
Hey,
the
Caleb, what's that
challenges
guy's
that lie
the
ahead.
corset thing he's wearing around? What's that mean? You got any?
And integrity.
It's like it's just a garb that they wear for like certain seasons and for certain like ceremonies.
Gotcha.
Like during like Lent, it's like purple, and during Christmas, I think it's green, or like like regular season, it's green. And
Is this Catholic shit I should know?
It is a Catholic thing. I know that. I don't know if it's like a Christian thing too.
I don't approve of his glasses.
Those are some birth control goggles for sure, man.
I just don't.
Caleb knows what I'm talking about, right? They were still using that phrase. They
Oh,
still
yeah.
use EPGs, right?
I got issued a couple pair.
Yeah.
I had to get rid of them though.
yeah. I
to go to
briefly had
Warby
glasses once, and I made sure I got the aviator prescription one, so I didn't look like a complete
As we embark on this new
fucking
chapter,
the
we
JJ
also
repellent.
seek your comfort, O God, for those who feel lost or disheartened. In this time of transition, may your light shine upon them.
Oh, wait a minute.
Reaffirming their belief.
Wait a
in the
minute.
brightness
He's
of
backsliding. This guy's about trannies. What's going on
to
here?
lift one another, supporting our fellow citizens with kindness and empathy, recognizing that together we can overcome any adversity. Grant us the strength to endure, the courage to face
So that
our
guy right there in the
fears,
background that they just
and the
showed,
clarity to
Yeah.
see the light that
he's got the blue metal right here that hangs down around his neck with the field of the light blue with the field of stars. That is the Medal of Honor. So that guy, dove on a hand grenade or did something else stupid like that.
Show me him if he pops up again.
Never has to work
promote
again.
the well-being of all.
He doesn't have to buy a
seeking
drink,
build
probably.
bridges that will
Oh, that
foster
too.
unity and belonging. As we stand witness
And
to
his
this
kids can go to
inauguration,
one of the service academies, Caleb. You know that
Oh
comes
wow,
with-
really?
Yeah, the Medal of Honor comes with it. All Medal of Honor winners, their kids can go to the academies, any of the service academies.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah, that's one of the
trust that with
The
your
bennies.
guidance, oh God,
That's a
our
big deal.
nation can move forward to a future filled with promise, prosperity, and understanding.
Somebody fact check me on that. I'm going to check that out.
We lift our hearts in gratitude for the beloved parents of President Trump. Without Mary and Fred Trump, this day would never be the miracle that has just begun. From their place in heaven, may they shield their son from all harm.
Yes, qualified
by their loving
children of Medal of
protection,
Honor recipients can be
and
admitted
give
to the
him the
military
strength
restrictions
to
without
guide our
nomination or
nation
quota
along the path
requirements.
that will make America great again.
They get a monthly
Cool.
pension.
Let us go forth now with these words of President Trump's emblazoned on our hearts.
This guy went
As
to the
long
Naval
as we
Academy.
have
You would know.
pride in our beliefs, courage in our convictions, and faith in our God, then we will not fail. We stand tall, we stand proud, because we are Americans, and Americans kneel to God, and to God alone. Amen.
I like that Trump went with the
Ladies
purple,
and
the color of
gentlemen,
royalty,
please
and then
remain-
JD went with the standard thing.
Austin, that pile of shit. Is he gone?
Yeah, he's gone, man. Pete Hegseth's going to be your next Secretary of Defense. He's got the votes.
God, Lloyd Austin was such a fucking bitch.
Yeah, not a fan.
Yeah.
And is Millie gone too? He got a
He
pardon.
got pardoned. He got pardoned.
Yeah.
Believe it?
Lloyd Austin's gone already. He already left.
No, I mean he's gone today. Yeah, he probably did resign. Yeah, sure.
When do they vote on the
This week, Hegseth's nomination and Pam Bondi's will go to Bondi's expected to even get some Democrat votes, so she'll blow through no problem. And Hegseth will get don't Julia, I am not hating on Marines. I promise.
She's
you,
a Marine
I'm
officer.
not- I'm
I
not
don't think she
hating
realized
on,
that you are also a Marine officer.
Yeah, I don't where is it? Where's my ink? Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
So,
Yeah.
I am just kidding, Julia. I promise you, it is a.
I dated a guy in the Marines and he cried because he got punched in the face once.
Yeah, then he deserved to get out.
What a
He
cool
wasn't
guy.
the real deal. I got news for you. If you dated him once, if he was a real Marine, you'd still be with him. There's a reason you're not with him.
Is Joe out of the White House now? Like is his shit packed?
Get
and
your
he's
shit
gone?
out. Yep. Pack your shit. Yeah, you're gone.
It's already gone. You think? Like he's already like he doesn't sleep there tonight?
No, he does not sleep there tonight. Nope.
That guy's wearing tennis shoes. Hasim Hakeem is wearing tennies.
Nice.
Is that Vivek's
Hey, there's
wife in
Vivek.
the blue dress?
There's
No, that's Combe.
Oh. Okay. I saw the guy with the nuclear football walk in.
Oh, did you?
Oh, really?
Yeah, he had like a big old briefcase, like looked
Hey,
like a
if you
typewriter
want to
thing.
read a damning book about the Clintons, the guy who carried the nuclear football for them wrote a book about his experience working for the Clintons.
You know, do you remember what it's called?
Oh man, I have it. It's buried somewhere around here, but you should look that one up. It was, people the media didn't report on it, but it's an Air Force
Dereliction of
officer.
duty?
Caleb. What's
Oh,
yes,
wow.
dereliction of duty. That's it. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Robert
Yeah,
Patterson.
he talks about. He's got some great stories. I got some great stories from guys who flew. I had friends who were pilots. Ken Walters from the top rope. The White House doesn't do late checkouts. Nice, Ken.
You don't think you could
Nice.
pay him like an extra $200 and they'll
Yeah, you're like, no, we'll just pay for this extra night. No,
Yeah,
no,
that's
we
right.
just-
Here's a great question. Do you think Joe will run again in 4 years?
he'll
Joe's not
run
even gonna be
all right.
alive in 4 years, dude.
Yeah, he'll be running all right. He'll be running to stay out of jail.
Wow, what was that?
And we see President Trump, along with First Lady Melania Trump, exiting as
Look at
the
that guy.
inauguration ceremony
Who is that lady?
concludes inside
She
the
is
Capitol
stiff.
Rotunda.
She
We
looks
see
like a
former
nanny that would just, like,
President Biden
whip
and
all your
former
bad
First
children
Lady
into
Jill
shape.
Look at
Biden.
the thickness
right
on the
there
glasses of the guy in
behind
front.
the new,
That guy could, man, you could cook a cook an insect if you just put those under the sunlight and
He sees the future, man.
Oh,
Andrew Kraft, and we have been witnessing.
he doesn't have 20. He's got like 20 negative 100. I mean,
Now the
those.
47th president of the United States. The second time in history that a president has a second term that's non-consecutive.
Yeah,
And
who was
we're
it? Rutherford
seeing
Hayes? Who was the other one?
political dynamic in play
I don't
in
know about
real
that one.
time inside this.
Grover Cleveland, I think, was the only president
I'd
to
love to hear your
the only
thoughts.
other president to win non-consecutive terms, to win a second term non-consecutive. I think it's Grover Cleveland. Grover Cleveland or Rutherford Hayes. Pretty sure it's Cleveland.
Former President Biden and former Vice President Harris.
Yeah.
Yes, Stephanie, good to be with you. Good to be with everyone watching. Well, that is how we do it here in the United States. The peaceful transition of power. That is
There
what
we
we
go.
all have just watched, all have just observed.
Is that
here,
Bondi right there?
And
Yep. She's looking
the
good.
political dynamics in play were palpable. Yes, this is a historic moment. And we should talk about some of the news that was
So
made
the military chorus
in the speech.
So
I can't
when
believe we
was
still
at-
have that.
Yeah, so when I was at TBS, they had each company had to have its own chorus. So when I was at basic school, a brand new officer, I'm a second lieutenant, and I was absent for something. I had something going on, like I was at medical, or I had to getting a physical done or whatever. But I wasn't there when they handed out assignments, and so my platoon commander, my staff platoon commander, made me in charge of the chorus.
No.
Because somebody told him I had an interest in music and all this, and so I got stuck with being in charge of the TBS chorus for Charlie Company 91, and it was funny. They had this big ceremony, some big political thing. And so I had to pick songs, and I had to conduct, we had chorus practice, and then we had to perform at the mess night of the company that was ahead before us.
Oh, no.
And so it was we got roped into this performance at St. Patrick's Cathedral, some big thing like this, like not an inauguration, but something else, some big event at St. Patrick's Cathedral. Nobody told us. We just all of a sudden they're like, get on a bus, you got to go up, like get the chorus together. Get in your uniforms, get in your alphas or whatever, and you're going to go perform. We're going to be at St. Patrick's Cathedral. We have no idea what the music's going to be. So all the guys in the chorus, like my idiot friends and all these guys are like, what are we going to do? We don't even know the words. I'm like, listen, when you get up there, and then we find out we're going to sing alongside the actual chorus that's the St. Patrick's Cathedral there in DC. And they're like, and I'm like, oh, we can only fuck this up. There's no way we can help. Like we can only do bad, right? So everybody's like, "What do we do?" I'm like, "Listen, when we get the words to the songs. I go, you are to move your lips, you are to mimic, but you are not to fucking sing a single note. So we will let them do the heavy lifting, and we are all just going to stand there in our uniforms and look pretty, and we're going to move our lips and like, whoa, some of them we didn't know the music, that we didn't know the words, and so I'm like, you will just go watermelon, 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 watermelon. You will just do that, and that will allow you to fake your way through it. And so we had all the lieutenants in the TBS chorus doing like in front of the commandant of the Marine Corps, in front of all these huge dignitaries and officials. And then they dragged me out afterwards. I'd expected, we knew none of this. Yeah. I get dragged out to go shake hands with the commandant of the Marine Corps. I'm a second lieutenant at TBS, and thank you for your performance. And I'm just laughing to myself. I'm like, all the idiots are up there just going watermelon, 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 just moving their lips. So we didn't.
Eaton Beaver, thank you, Sevi, for the great coverage. You're welcome. My pleasure. Hey, did you see Don Jr. shake hands with Hillary? You know how many memes he's probably made about her. Dude.
Oh my God. Oh yes, good game.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I don't know how they do it, man.
Ugh. It looks like Luca's the bodyguard over there, shaking everybody's hands as they come out.
Who's Luca?
The left shot, Luka Jukic.
Oh.
Would end. So
and now will come the media telling you what you're supposed to believe about this. That's the important.
He's not going to do all that.
Jesus, is that Hakeem Jeffries' wife?
Yikes, dude.
Wow.
Chubby Chaser.
Oh,
wow.
Don't act like you're surprised. Come on.
Right. There's Trump's granddaughter.
Wow. Is that Kai Trump? Is that her?
Is that the one that's going to Miami?
Girl. Her YouTube station blew up during the campaign.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And so it's freezing there, huh? It's
cold. It's cold. It is cold
and windy. You can see people's jackets and coats blowing around.
They're getting our weather. We get the weather that we get is usually a couple days ahead of it traveling across the country to what's in Kansas will be in DC in about 48 hours kind of thing.
And so there's Chuck Schumer with the blue hat.
Well, I like how no homeless people are accosting them. That's how you know serious stuff's going on. They've got all that stuff cleaned up.
They took a pressure washer to the street before everybody showed up.
Yeah. There's Billy, where's Clinton?
Oh, are they doing a photo op right there on the steps?
Sure.
Well, they do like a change of hands, like where the two of them stand together and then one of them flies off in Marine One and the other one turns around and goes into the White House, right?
Oh, is that how they do it? Yeah, you might know more than me on that one.
I think that
I got some great Marine One helicopter stories. That was like the very desirable second tour if you left flying was to try and get to Marine One. And I used to be the prosecutor for Marine One. So they fell into my jurisdiction. The helicopter base is at Marine Corps Base Quantico. So Marine One is actually the squadron is right there at Quantico Marine Corps Base. And I had good buddies when I was a prosecutor who were then like OPSOs and, they were in their second tour and they were in charge and flying the president around. So I used to have I get some great stories from guys flying the presidents around. I got some funny ass stories from,
oh man,
especially from the Clintons.
So there's Trump, Biden behind them, Kamala, Vance.
Yep.
The chicks.
Vance's wife looks like she's struggling so hard to smile. Like her face hurts at this point.
And you see how there's somebody there to like direct them. You see how Helga, you remember you were wondering who that burly looking, that stout.
Oh, look at he's creeping on Melania. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Oh
Joe's
my God. What the hell?
She's like, no, Joe, I really am glad. Look at him. He can barely even stand. The wind's going to blow him over.
Oh, God.
And look at Trump's coat. He's got a full length coat in purple. Look at that.
Yeah, that's nice.
And they're doing gloves.
Biden can't even feel his hands at this point.
Yeah, he's like, eh.
And Melania doesn't want to dare make eye contact with Joe again. Look at, she's kind of turned her. Trump's like, don't talk to him again.
He's like, I'll keep you warm, sweetie. Hey, you can't pull up the pictures from when she was a model. You ever seen that they were trying to hammer her with? You remember when the Democrats and the media was like, oh, she's disgusting and all that. And they pulled up the picture of her from when she was modeling in a plane, the outfit she was wearing in the plane. You remember?
And there's nudes all over the internet of her.
Oh, dude, she's smoking.
Yeah, she's a bombshell for sure.
Who's that guy? Oh, that's Emhoff. Oh, and Kamala.
Doug slept with the nanny Emhoff.
And backhanded his chick at the Cannes Film Festival.
Yeah.
Damn.
It's a nice pink coat. That's a nice look.
I like her.
Oh, they just told they don't even know. They had to like tell the JD Vance to like go over there and like say hello and shake hands. They were so far off to the side.
Yeah. JD will be the highest ranking Marine ever, former Marine, vice president.
Wow.
That's the best we've had up until now was chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and that was a recent phenomenon. We never did. And then we got two of them, but somebody I knew, a guy I played hockey against, Joe Dunford.
Wow.
Became chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I think that's the highest a Marine officer's ever reached.
Is that a plane we hear or a helicopter we hear?
That's a helicopter.
Yep. That is the jet engine of that piece of shit H3 that they still use for Marine One. They were talking about a replacement for that when I was in, they were talking about we're going to get, and there's just, it's kind of unique. It's one of the few helicopters that sits up really high. And so the president kind of comes down, descends down the stairs, and they don't have anything else. They don't build helicopters like that anymore. It's a huge high kind of looking helicopter. There's nothing like that. And they don't want the president. They want the president to be able to get out and walk down the steps and look presidential.
Yeah.
And so that's the only helicopter in the world that really has that. Most helicopters low to the ground. You get out, you just hop out the side, your feet are on the ground, you
got to go down a ramp.
Who are these people on the outside? They're everywhere. These two.
Those are the guardians. Those are the
docents.
Yeah, the docents or whatever.
God, they suck. That chick is incapable of anything. So
That's
is
the
that
chick
guy.
that probably tried to take Trump down whenever he almost got assassinated.
Hey, Dale, how many Marine Ones are there? Because when Biden came to San Jose a couple of years ago, I remember seeing like 6 of those copters flying around.
Yeah, they've got a bunch. I mean, it's not just so that you see how that kind of. Yeah, that's
Are
the
they all getting in there? They have to fly together now.
So that's the old H3, and
Oh, no.
we do need a replacement for it. See how they've got those stairs and they can walk up. There's no other helicopters really that are sit high enough like that when they're at rest where you can do that. But they've got a bunch of helicopters. Marine One is a whole squadron, and they've got what they call green side and white side. The
So
white
Trump
side,
just
the white
walked
caps.
Trump walked them to the helicopter like, bye.
Yeah, he's sticking them on the helicopter. Now it's going to fly Biden off to, with any luck, it'll crash.
It's like walking your friends to the door after they come over to hang out.
Yeah, he's been seen to the door.
Yeah,
and so they'll fly him whatever. It's ceremonial. But they have white side and green side. The white side stuff is presidential support, and then the green side stuff, HMX1 still has a separate, like, they do support for the basic school. They do, they do a bunch of other supports. So they've got a bunch of.
Dale, it's a tough call, but what's the percentage chance that we see Fauci in jail within the next 4 years?
It's low. I think it's low.
Oh, so is that the back side of the Capitol building that we don't normally see from the front? That's like in the courtyard. Okay.
Yes, that's correct. I was just there a few weeks ago.
What's the logistics of like making that a landing pad? Do they just already have that? They're like,
it's not hard to land. I mean, there's plenty of room to land a helicopter there. I mean, geez.
Oh, okay.
Like, watch, that thing's about to start up and take off. So that guy's the engines are spinning and they've got this brake engaged. So the rotors aren't, and a clutch disengages. So the engines are actually spinning. And then when they're ready to fire it up, they'll pop the brake, engage the clutch, let the engines will engage with the rotor and the transmission, start that thing spinning. And then it's all ready to go. It will take a couple checklist items and then boom, they're gone. They're out of there.
Oh, is that thing comfortable inside? Is it nice?
Yes. Super nice. Super nice. Immaculate.
So even though it's an old helicopter, they've just like retrofitted it with a bunch of new stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you can do a lot of that, but I mean, it is what it is. The airframe is what it is, but the inside is done really, really nice. I mean, it's comfortable. Clinton was famous for playing cards back there with Podesta when he was the chief of staff with Clintons.
Is it loud? Is it loud in there?
They got a bunch of
headsets. Passengers wear headsets.
I don't know if they do when they're flying it. Probably they do. They don't. I think somebody told me they have headsets. They can. They frequently do not. But there's a bunch of sound baffling back there to try and make it a little less like uncomfortable because helicopters are noisy.
Yeah.
So it's done up on the inside very nice to make it like hey, that soundproof room. Like Greg's Sound Studio. They've got a bunch of. It's amazing how much sound dampening you can do, but it all comes at a weight cost. But you see how quick, like, look at that thing. He just engaged that and look at that thing going now. I mean, it's ripping. Yeah. And then they're about ready to go. I mean,
that black stripe on the top, is that a window or is that paint?
That's paint. Where you see that black stripe right forward of it, you see where the American flag is?
Yeah.
Underneath that is an exhaust. There's actually an engine nacelle in there. So that's an exhaust for an engine, believe it or not. And so that's why that's painted black, is because otherwise it would be black from the engine exhaust. So they paint it black so it doesn't look. You don't see all the soot and shittiness that would be coming out of the engine. That's the engine exhaust right there.
What a dirty helicopter. No, it's just black. It's just covered. It's just painted black.
That's exactly right. That's why they do that.
Look at Heidi busting Dale's chops. And the seats have these features where you can see where all the threads from the original Indonesia sewing women. Heidi,
I don't know if that's a slam, but it's good. It's probably right.
Everything Heidi says is a slam. Just take it as a slam.
Yeah. Nice. Very well done, Heidi. Very well done. What other trivial shit you want to know, Heidi, about the inner workings of HMX1?
That flag is painted with children's blood from the
right. The blood of virgins from prior. Yeah, whatever.
And what are those two things on the side of the helicopter? They look like buoys or something. There's two different sizes.
Sponsons. Yeah, that's where the gear. You can see that actually has gear. You see that's got landing gear. That gear comes up They actually have retractable gear. That's another
goes
thing.
in
Most
there.
helicopters, like I had skids, they're not going anywhere.
Shit, that thing looks
Look
heavy.
at how it hovers.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
What's
look at how it
going on?
hovers. It's really tough.
Why is it tilting? Why is it leaning?
Because
it's a helicopter.
Yeah, because it's a helicopter. It's a whistling shit can of death. So the way they hover, a lot of those helicopters, the big ones, the 53s hover, and we used to be like, oh God, here it goes. Like at any moment, that thing could fall out of the sky. And I would not be like, oh, it's foul play. I'd be like, it's a helicopter. That's what they do. They fall out.
That thing looked unstable as shit as it came up. Why is it pitched to the left? Is that the side the fat chick's on?
No, everything about helicopters is a series of competing forces that are all working against each other. The tail rotor is there to offset the torque of the anti-torque of the main rotor. It is 5,000 parts flying in close formation.
Whistling shit can of death.
That's correct, Jody. That's what we used to call the 53, the whistling shit can of death. Hey, if anybody wants an insight into what helicopter flying is all about, I'll pimp my own. Go to the Abject Lesson Substack, the Abject Lesson on Substack, and I wrote 17 different pieces about my adventures flying helicopters and all the different mishaps that I had personal knowledge of. And I wrote 17 of those. So if you're really curious, you want the true scoop on flying helicopters from the start of flight school all the way until I left flying aviation, military aviation, you can read that there and get all the inside poop on that, just how deadly it is. But it's a dangerous business.
Most entertaining show of the thousands you've done. I don't know about that.
12 out of 10. All right. There you go. What a service we provide. All right, man. Hey, next up.
That's it. We're done for the day. Our work is done here.
There you go.
We'll see you soon.
Yeah, we'll see you again, bud.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited for your more frequent visits on the show. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be a great year, 2025.
Yeah, 2025 is a big year. A big year. I'm looking forward to my retirement too. And when I have news on the vaccine mandates and back pay and all that, you'll know because you'll hear me screaming in celebration, and you'll hear the corks of champagne popping.
All right. And do we have a date for when your first show is going to be on the station?
I don't know if we got a date yet, but coming up soon, probably this or next week. So
awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to do maybe one. We'll get one more in the can, and I've got a guest for the next one. And so, yeah, we're going to be popping that soon.
All right, buddy. Love you.
All
Thanks for coming on, dude. Have a great day.
Thanks, Heavy. Good to see you, Caleb.
Good to see you, Dale.
Cheers.
All right. Donald Trump.
Wow.
President of the United States. New command. You got a new boss, Caleb?
Got a new boss. It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Kind of exciting.
Oh my God. How weird to be a part of a killing fucking machine and your boss is a pussy.
Yeah, right. You feel
God.
felt like it was a lot less about war fighting and more about initiatives.
Even David Weed says Dale's the best. Jeez. All right.
Crazy.
Oh, we got all sorts of people coming on in the next few days. By the way, Jimmy Watson will be coming back on.
Ooh.
And we'll be talking about what that means for the southern border regarding the cartels being designated a terror organization. That's going to be a great show.
What about Jorge? Should we try to get Jorge on?
I got Jorge lined up. Jorge's getting scheduled. Oh, Fetterman was all dressed up today? No shit. Was he there?
I didn't see him. Probably because I wouldn't have recognized him in anything but sweatpants and a hoodie.
Yeah, me neither. All right, guys. It sounds like there's all sorts of news coming out from Tier Wadapalooza. And we'll be getting some of that information to you probably tonight. I'll try to organize a show tonight, Tier Wadapalooza show. That's going on this weekend. I think that's it. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you guys later. Caleb, thanks for coming on. Hey, did they give you the morning off because of the inauguration? Oh, no. Mr.
No,
King's
it's MLK Day.
Okay.
I got a snow day tomorrow, too, though. So see you tomorrow.
Hey, I thought the Village people were going to play.
Somebody said that was yesterday.
Oh,
I don't know what was happening yesterday, but they said it was either yesterday or earlier today.
All right. David Weed, 8 out of 10. That's what I'm thinking. 8 out of 10. Thank you, David. Make my head big. All right, Captain Rogers, thank you. Talk to you guys later on today. Thank you, Withstand the Storm. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.